All right,
Hey,
y'all. Welcome
yeah.
to All Politics Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics All Local. So, of course, we got a really interesting show because there were some big developments, of course, in our city last night. I think there's a guy named Mr. Tillman looking for Rahman Muhammad.
Wow.
that we could talk about. There was a big takedown that went on yesterday, so we've got some big things that we want to share. I'm sure we're going to talk about. So, John, you can go ahead and give them a rundown before we get into all of that.
All right. Well, we know we start off. It is the first Monday. Then it's Pastrami Over Politics with Rahaman Muhammad. We're going to be joined with Alturrick Kenney. And we're going to be talking about Newark Central Ward Council race. We're going to be talking about the New Jersey gubernatorial race and lessons learned from Rahaman Muhammad's career in public service. He's always going to talk about some stuff that happened in the past. There's some story that we could all learn from. I love those stories. I look forward to hearing which one it's going to be today. Then we're going to be followed at 7 o'clock with Nedia Morsey of Make the Road, New Jersey, and they're going to be talking about protests around Palantir and the other high-tech companies that are working with ICE. There are a lot of demonstrations. There's a lot of stuff going on the ground there, and some very sobering thing. I hear in Chicago they are picking up Black people, citizens, as ICE. So more on that in that conversation. And at 7:45, we're going to be talking to Lumumba Bandele on Assata, the Black August Hip Hop Project, and New York City in 2025, and that mayor's race. So all of those are going to be talking about, and of course at 8:30, DJ Rhino and the State of Hip Hop, we're going to be talking about like the latest stuff that's going on right now.
Diddy just got slam dunked in court.
4 years for all the stuff he thought he was going to do.
He lucky as hell.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Zai, before we get started with Rock, was his brother Lumumba, that's Monifa Bandele's husband?
Yes.
Okay. Before the check. Okay.
Watch both of them grow up.
That's gonna be strong when he come on, because he don't take no short.
Lumumba's a serious cub. Serious movie cub.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are here now. Welcome to Pastrami Over Politics.
Yeah.
No sandwiches. Where the sandwiches at?
I'm just saying, they're not. Big Rock,
man,
where's the sandwich?
See, if y'all was in studio, it'd be different. But y'all gotta come to the deli and do it at the. You gotta come to the deli and do it at the deli, and you know what I'm saying. We can put it around.
That's fair.
Yeah. My man Riley said he was gonna come here. Ed said he was coming. We're gonna do it from here. We're gonna do it. Get a little round table.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna set it up. Yep. We're gonna make it happen.
So, what is this about? Like somebody looking for? Fill me in, because I'm always out of it. I'm always just doing stuff
I didn't know nobody was looking for me. I mean,
someone's looking for you.
I'm probably like the easiest guy to find in the city.
Hey, Rock, in the middle of the debate, Mr. Tillman called you out like you part of the debate. I'm like, what?
He said, "This guy, Rahaman Muhammad."
Yeah. I was waiting for the audience to cheer for me. I ain't getting no cheers, man. I felt a little bad, I thought everybody was gonna jump up and say, "Yeah!" I felt a little bad, but
what happened? What happened? How was your name mentioned? What's going on?
I mean, I guess he was talking about this committee that the mayor just pointed me to chair that was run by somebody else, and he just asked me to go fix it. So, I'm gonna go fix it,
Okay.
So, and Tillman, it's something that Tillman talks about all the time. But the problem is that he don't really want to talk about the facts of. He just keep on saying things, his perception of things, and not really what's factual.
But what is a lot of the audience doesn't know what we're talking about at all. So, what was the committee? What was it? I'm just bringing this up. It was like you're being looked for. So if you're going to be looked for, like I want to know the reason.
There's an affirmative action committee that was established under Corey, which I don't understand why Corey did it, because we already had an affirmative action committee under city council. So you really got two committees now. The mayor has one, and the council has one. In addition, you got the affirmative action office, and there was this committee was created and said that it was supposed to do oversight over affirmative action. But there was no real communication going between affirmative action and this committee. But unfortunately, though, like as folks do all the time, Tillman takes it to a different level and tries to make it seem like this committee is the do all end all. No committee in the city of Newark is that. The work is actually done by the people that work for the mayor. And so, unfortunately, he says things that I've tried to correct him on, and he continuously say them anyway. But, listen, I took over the committee now. I'm going to make some changes in it.
What does it do?
It really supposed to, the affirmative action department should come there, give a report detailing the projects that we overseen. You know what I'm saying? If we assess any fines or donations to projects that's not meeting the signed contract that they signed with economic development. And it's really based on workforce and trying to get more Norkers on the job. And the problem with it isn't so much that we do our best at trying to get Norkers on the job, but we need more Norkers trained on these electrical, plumbing, carpentry jobs, iron worker jobs. We need more Nork workers trained in these type of jobs. They're going to these unions. And the problem is that, we got a bunch of laborers, but as soon as the electrician time to go up in there, we don't have many of us that's electricians. We don't have many of us that's plumbers. And these folks think that, they keep talking about, oh, no, no. You have to be certified and licensed for these type of jobs. You just can't because your uncle taught you in your basement how to do electrical work, or you fix somebody plumbing, now you're a plumber, you got skills. That's not what you're doing. You have to learn to read blueprints. You have to learn to, read a diagram. There are things that you have to learn that you have to be licensed in doing, and you have to go to a certified program rather than a union or a trade school to get it done. And we need more minorities doing it, and we don't, unfortunately. We represent probably less than 10% of skilled trades in this country, and that's sad, and it has to change.
You said we represent less than 10% of trade.
Yeah, so I'm probably being generous with the 10, to be honest with you.
and John Rock is absolutely correct, because I actually stopped one day and asked some of those guys. I asked them, why was all of the brothers who had on orange jackets versus a lot of the immigrants who had on green jackets? And what they told me is that those guys with those green jackets on was actually the skilled labor. And the ones with the orange jackets on were actually the laborers. I was like, wow, I had no idea that was the case.
Right.
So
but the other thing is, a lot of people ask why you see a lot of immigrants in their countries. They are taught skilled trades in their country. What people don't know, they just don't get paid as much. So even if a person here is
we lost Rock.
But that's a really
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Somebody trying to call. I need to start putting it.
We're gonna.
We need skilled communications from our deputy mayor. That's what we need.
we gotta pull some of that stuff out of your head, Alturrick.
That's my brother. I love that guy. I think sorry, Rockman is back.
Hello?
Yeah, Rockman, you were sharing about some of the issues regarding skilled labor. We can hear you, Rockman. Go ahead.
We can hear you.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Go ahead. Al, you was about to say,
you were saying that some of the people come from their country, they skilled labor coming from the country.
Tariq, because I can't hear y'all.
No, we're listening to you. We can hear you. We can hear you, Rockman. I can't
hear Tariq. I can hear you.
We're listening to you. We're listening to you.
Yeah, we were just trying to listen to you. You're on.
Yeah, but I can't hear nobody else. Oh, they on mute? They on mute?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not talking.
Okay. No, so what I'm saying, we need more people in skilled jobs, and a lot of people ask about immigrants in their countries. They actually teach them skilled labor. And so when they come over here, they do know electrical work and plumbing work and carpentry work and all those things, because in their country they're actually taught that when they come over here. And so we need more of our individuals to go into skilled labor through these schools. And I've met with the school system to try to get that done. But until we solve that problem where we can get more young folks to go into these unions or a tech program to get these skilled trades, we're gonna have this problem. I mean, we always talk about a problem, but we never work to solve it, but we'll point it out. The solving the problem means we got to get people to go from school into these skilled trade programs so that they can become certified electricians, plumbers, carpenters, and everything else, so that they can get in these skilled jobs instead of always being in labor. We got 1 million minority laborers. We need more than laborers. We need skilled jobs.
So, and that what you're saying, right? Like, because that's been a conversation for a while. We've got vocational. We've got vocational that is online again in Newark Public Schools. We've got Paint Tech. We've got Newark Tech. We've got the School of Architecture and Interior Design up. A few years ago, you were talking about a more extensive program in a lot more of the schools. Like, you were talking about getting programs in both Central and Barringer and in our schools more generally for the types of skilled laborers that you're talking about. Is that, can you talk to me more about that and that initiative?
Well, I mean, I met with the superintendent about this. I believe I actually did a paper that I wrote on this too, talking about this, that I gave to everybody. And it talked about that we need to have hybrid high schools. There need to be hybrid institutions. All schools need to offer a CTE program or a traditional form of education. And to be honest with you, I would rather we graduate a person knowing that they're going into a CTA program where they can master the basic math and reading test, rather than we give somebody a diploma saying they got algebra 2, and when I take them to go take a test, they fail. And so I want to make sure that we got these specialized schools like North Tech and these specialized high schools, but that does not serve enough. Here's the other thing, Jonathan, it don't serve most of our children. There are a lot of people in other cities that become a part of those schools too. And so we need to make sure that every high school that we have has a hybrid institution where when you come in, at least by the time you get to the 10th grade, you understand either you're going to follow a traditional model of education where it's going to be college bound, or you're going to follow a CTE model where you're going to do some sort of trade or skill that you're going to get, or training program that you're going to get that don't require you to go to college, but still offers a good career. For instance, CDL, truck driver. A truck and trailer driver can make $100,000 a year or more. But yet, we don't do anything to make sure that we offer that type of program. I was just pointing out a program to the mayor that we got 6 young African-American, I think 1 Latino, 5 African-American, 1 Latino male, in a pilot program to learn how to become a pilot, a tugboat pilot that will go out to the sea and bring those big ships into the port. You know how much money they make? You know how much money they make? How much money do they make? Almost up to $500,000.
What?
Yes. Yeah. Right in our backyard, Jonathan. Yeah. Right in our backyard.
Yeah, so Rahaman,
and we
I want to speak to that.
6 young African-American, I think 5 African-American, 1 Latino male inside of a program where they learning how to be the helper first. They learn how to be the helper, but over time, over the years, if you want to here 25 years, you can be close to $500,000 making. That's how much money these folks make. And this job is right in our backyard, but yet we don't teach it through our educational system, which makes no sense. How do we have an opportunity like this in our backyard, but the school system has not reached out to them and say, how do we get our kids inside of this program?
Or even knowing that those jobs exist.
And the only reason why they even reaching out to us, Jonathan, because the workforce currently is aged. They're mostly white males. They aged, and their kids or their grandkids aren't taking those jobs.
Right.
So now they saying, wait a minute, we now got to go into our backyard, and hopefully we get some folks interested into this opportunity. We got 6 young African-American males that's in that program right now. When they finish, they
I wish I could
making
be younger.
$60,000 a year. Just being a helper on the tugboat. Just being a helper.
How much do they make just being a helper?
$60,000.
Nice.
You know what, Tarak, I want to extend on that point because was working with Newark Works, and one of the
Like,
programs
why
that I
are we
was
talking
responsible
about
for
more of
was
these
trying to.
type of programs in our school system? This is the stuff
All
we
right.
need to talk about.
Right. And Alturrick?
Yeah.
Alturrick?
Yeah. So what I was saying is that when I was working with Rahaman, I was working with Rahaman, and we were trying to
I can't hear.
identify new jobs that were
You hear
that
now?
we
'Cause I
that
can't
was
hear.
literally in our
Oh,
backyard,
you can't hear
and we
Alturrick?
unfortunately were not going after them.
Yeah. Do I
We
need?
weren't going
Maybe I
after
need to
them.
sign out and log back in, y'all, because I
Yeah.
can't hear. I can only. Yeah, I'm gonna sign
Yeah,
out.
sign out and log back in.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign out and log back. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I was saying, Jonathan, it was that some of the jobs that so Rahaman is speaking to is regarding the jobs literally in the transportation industry, and so we actually under Mayor Baraka, he had this obviously the Office of Full Employment, which is a new office that didn't exist. I used to work for the city of Newark. It didn't exist prior administrations. And so Rahaman was able to create an initiative with Mayor Baraka and Amina Bay to create a program where we were going out finding and fishing for jobs and try to find jobs that we typically wouldn't go after. And so those jobs were not jobs in the retail sector. Those are jobs that pay high income, high earnings. And so one of the jobs that we were able to find was engaging in the port, whether it was a port authority, whether it was a port operators, whether it was the shipping lines, was to find jobs that can pay the sort of income that Rahaman is referring to. And so Rahaman is absolutely correct. Our school system has to realign, where we're able to train two things. Obviously, we want children to have the option to go to college if that's their route, but also we want to make sure we train students like they do in Germany, where if they want to go into the CT related program, they have the skills and the aptitude to do so and the certifications to follow it. And so Rahaman is absolutely correct. They're literally jobs like the jobs that Rahaman was talking about is it's literally in your backyard. It requires you to have a TWIC card, which is a Transportation Workers Identification Card. The second one is require you to simply get on a boat for several months, and you can actually pull a boat into the port. The starting salary was $353,000. $353,000. That's the starting salary for simply people driving boats to get the boats from out in the harbor into Newark's harbor to dock inside the city of Newark. I chose the wrong career, Jonathan.
I'm out.
I literally chose the wrong career.
Me too.
I'm out. Whoa. Really?
I think we all did. I was
trying to get my black behind in court or in the classroom. I couldn't get in neither one. I could have been one of them shits that told everybody to go to hell.
Word.
Yes.
Word. Now, you said the starting salary.
So I'm sorry. The starting salary is like $250 to $353. It's in that same range, but it's more than what I make right now, right? Yes.
Wow. Right. It's
and
more than most people make right now.
Yes. A lot of us combined make right now.
It's like doctor level salary.
Sir, yes. This is a superintendent salary.
Right.
And so we're talking about careers that we don't talk about, and careers that we don't literally pursue. And so through Rahaman, I know he was having conversations with the county and through the Don Peg Tech Center that was a few years ago to actually have a fair where those employers were coming into the city of Newark recruiting and then looking to train and create certifications for students to get careers that's related to the port. But what Rahaman is also hinting is that one of the biggest problems that we found in terms of providing vocational training is simply get the kids to pass the test.
Right.
And it was a simple aptitude test that it was hard to get kids to pass. So we want these kids to get jobs. I'm sorry, we want individuals, regardless of your age, to get these high-paying, career-earning opportunities, family-changing opportunities. But the first step is to actually pass a simple sixth grade. Well, let me not disparage. Is it simply to pass a test to get them to the next level into the training process? And so that's one of the biggest hurdles of getting young people and through the CTE programs and into careers that could be life-changing.
And it's interesting because there are so many people who would love to do that. Love to do that. And when you're talking about and Rahaman, I know that you have been talking about this for a long time. that schools are so intent on just like get people to college, get people to college,
Right.
get people to college. When only like 20 to 30% of all Americans
Right.
go to college. Like all like white,
Right.
getting more than I think.
White guys are used to that because they have privilege.
Right. But even less than that, complete college.
Hey,
And
Zay,
the
you know what I
problem-
was thinking? Zay, you know what I found was interesting? If you go into a suburban community, look in the driveway, you see a utility truck,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Well,
So the utility
Well.
truck is because dad or mom works in that space and it pays a lot of money. They certify mechanics, they certify electricians. And so like in our suburban
versus
communities,
all of that. That's right.
we tell our children to go into like social work, right? Or positions that have locked salaries. But some of us should start training our children to where we find opportunities where the salaries are unlimited. And those are sort of opportunities that exist. Like literally go into a suburban driveway and look, and you'll see all these like utility trucks, and they make a killing. Like even for me, right? Rahaman's bathroom might be fixed. I can't fix it because I don't have the skill set. So I gotta pay somebody $300 to do 20 minutes worth of work.
Hey, Rock. LaMonica, our Congresswoman just said she's watching. So let's say what's up to our Congresswoman.
What's up, Congresswoman?
Thank you for the phone call, LaMonica.
Come
She
back
ain't called me,
on.
but
You gotta report to
she
your
forgot about me
page.
since she be in DC.
No.
listen,
Rock, I'm talking about she had a call for her constituents in congressional
I
district
saw
number 10. You didn't get on. She had 15,000 people
She need
to
vote
talk
on
about
my
the
president.
shutdown.
She need to
And I
vote
want
on
to
my
thank my
president bill
congresswoman
and
for the
stop
excellent
playing.
work she does.
She need to do what my president
talking
said. but anyway, I mean, the reality of the matter is that when you become a skilled tradesperson, you actually also become an entrepreneur. And I think that we missed that part, right? And when you look at businesses and minorities getting businesses, a lot of businesses that come from being licensed plumbers, licensed electricians, carpenters. I mean, these are skilled trades that a lot of folks have companies with that they apply to government or wherever they apply to get jobs. And we don't generally fit in that mold because we're not in those businesses, but we're not in those businesses because we have not went to school to get the training. So when people sit up here and tell me, oh no, we do not have enough. I'm telling you, we don't have enough. You know what I'm saying? And the problem is that the same people that we're fighting for to get on the job sites, East Orange fighting to get on the job site, Irvington fighting to get on the job site, Jersey City's fighting to get on the job site. So if we're less than 10% of the skilled trades force, then all of these other places is fighting to get these same, they want to meet these same affirmative action requirements. It makes it even harder for us to reach that. But we don't never talk about what the actual problem is. What we want to talk about the fact that, I ride by and I don't see none of us on there. Well, it's just not enough of us in those skilled trade jobs for us to actually be able to, you know what I'm saying, fit this criteria that we're asking for. We need more people in those jobs, and we've been trying to get more people. We've been successful with some, but if the school system, I keep trying to tell people, the school system, because we need so many. Like if I put one or two into a plumber's local or electrician local over a year or two, that's just not enough. It's just not enough. We need a whole lot of individuals going into these programs so that we can begin to meet the criteria that we want to meet when it comes to that. Now, I'm gonna say it again. We have a bunch of laborers. We got plenty minority laborers. You always see the minority laborers. When the job first started, if you ride by there, you're gonna see minorities on the job because that's the laborers. But as soon as they start putting the bill up and the frame going up, as soon as they start closing the walls, now you got to do carpentry. You got to do electrical work. You got to do plumbing work. You got to do elevator mechanic work. All of this stuff has to be done, and you have to be skilled to be able to do this. No one is hiring somebody who learned from their uncle or their dad how to do that work. No, you got to go get trained to do it. You got to be certified to do it. You have to be able to say that you can take a blueprint and go out here and read that blueprint and put up that section of the building that they asking you to pull it up the right way. That's what you have to do. And it requires you to go get some schooling for that.
100%.
I cannot hear.
I know, no, it's me. My mic was on.
Hey Jonathan, wasn't this a conversation you was having with Siobhan Jeffries
Yeah, we always have that conversation. Like we always have a conversation with about pushing, vocational training and a high school level, right? Like because he's all for it after high school. I don't want to speak for him. We have good conversations. I like him a lot. So just to put out there that even though we're on the different end of certain issues, we always enjoy the conversation. But yeah, like the conversation was like he didn't think that it shouldn't be at the high school level. And that was when the School of Architecture and Interior Design was being built. And there were a lot of people who were like, hey, why are you pushing the trades here? Why not? Like, why are you giving them that push while they're in high school? And the answer was real clear. Like from Leon's perspective, it was like they need to be able to make money right after they graduate from high school, right? They need to be able to graduate from high school and make money.
I think when I first got on the school board, that was one of our arguments was, so like my philosophy changed when I used to work for a school called UTI, and I was seeing these kids making $100,000, before the age of 20, going into, certified training programs, and they work for Porsche, Mercedes, they work, they'll work for, it was like some lineup, I forgot the truck line at jobs, or whatever it is. They were making great money before the age of 2021. And so we need an industry where we need a system where we can do drawing of frames. And I'm going to stop talking because the congressman is here. I'm going to be quiet. I'm sorry. When the congressman comes, shut up. I got to shut up. So I'm sorry.
I have to get a whole little corner.
Hey,
He's
Rock.
not taking over Pastrami Politics. He done forgot about me since he was in DC. I don't want to hear it.
I see you guys later. I'm going to defer. You got my time.
Alturrick, please don't go. You were talking.
No. Absolutely not.
Don't try to clean it up.
Y'all got rock on here. Y'all got to be careful of this.
She got no mute.
Y'all keep.
Y'all can hear her? I can't hear her.
It's you, Rock. Your phone.
Really? That must be your phone.
It might be my phone. I don't know because I can't hear her.
Rockman, as usual, you're having technical difficulties. We still can't hear.
If you go out, I would go out and come back in. Try to use if you have a laptop or computer.
I'm gonna try to go out and come back in.
Jonathan, can I do your job for a second, Jonathan?
Sure.
So, Lamont, I want to thank you for the call that you had a few minutes ago. You called our district and spoke to 15,000 residents in your congressional district. And I think that what you're doing as a congresswoman is forward thinking, because a lot of Congress people, especially during this time, it's a great opportunity to educate the public as to what is happening regarding the services they receive, FAA, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and how that impacts you in the real world. So can you give us an update as to what's going on, how we get information, that sort of thing?
So thank you so much. Thanks, Alturrick, for getting on or picking up however you guys.
Better thing on the thing. I don't know.
Oh, wow. You guys got a host that doesn't know how to mute their phone. This is Rockman. We had a emergency town hall tonight to talk about the shutdown. We're on day 3. As hopefully people have been reading about, but if you're not clear on what's happening, the government is shut down. Day 3 of the shutdown, we shut down on October 1st at 12:01 a.m. because basically Republicans and Democrats can't agree on a continued resolution, which is a budget to keep the government open. Democrats are standing up right now fighting for healthcare subsidies that we need very badly so people's healthcare won't rise out of the roof with costs. I mean, we already see premiums going up. Many employees have already, or you, if you're watching this, have gotten a letter already about your premiums being raised and going up. And so we want to prevent that. We want to cut costs as much as we can because people are struggling and they can't afford to pay extra on anything. I mean, literally, that's what's happening. And just a couple of seconds ago, literally, we heard that Republicans are not even going to bring us back next week. We were scheduled to come back on Tuesday to work, to be in DC working on the budget, doing the work that the people have elected us to do. And because Republicans are scared of the Epstein file situation, we are hearing that they're going to cancel next week's votes because they don't want us to come back. As you all know, we just gained another Democratic House member in Congress. Rahala is her last name, Rep. Rahala elect. She's elected out of Arizona, and she was supposed to be sworn in next week as well. This week and next week, whichever time we were coming back. But Republicans refused to swear her in because she would be the last signature that we need for the Epstein files in order to vote on it. So,
Wow.
so it's a lot of games right now being played with the Republican Party, with the White House. We see things that the president is doing. He's joking, doing memes, doing just like unadult things at this
Very
moment
racist,
now.
vulgar,
Very racist, bigot behavior out of this White House and these Republicans. And when you ask them about it, they're like, "Oh, we just having fun. We're just joking." Like they're joking about being racist, and that is what we're dealing with like right now. Joking while many employees are being furloughed, joking about being racist, and that it is just terrible what is happening. So that is where we're at. We're going to continue to keep folks updated. For those who are viewing, we have on my website, MacGyver.house.gov, we have an FAQ, up there for residents to find out like if anything's being impacted regarding Social Security and other federal services. My employees are furloughed as well, not getting paid, but we're still showing up to work every day. I personally put my salary on hold because it's not right that, we get to play games. Like they're playing games with people's livelihoods, and then Congress just gonna get their check like it's like nothing. Like we're out here sipping wine and having a good time. That's unacceptable. And so I put my salary on hold. And I think other folks should be doing the same thing. When your constituents can't get a paycheck, it's awful, and they're playing games with people's livelihoods. So that is an update of what is happening. I thank you all for allowing me time to come up here. I'm totally intruding and just busting.
No, Madam Congresswoman. Let me ask you one question.
She is intruding.
Right? Trip.
Listen, I'm blessed. I'm sorry. I never had a congresswoman directly talk with us and talk to me over the last something years I've been alive on live television. So I don't care what anybody says. We're blessed to have her here.
Absolutely. Still in this moment and appreciating this, let's ask you this one big, broad question. What you just said in 3 minutes. How is the press reporting on this crisis? And it is a crisis, right? The magnitude of where we're at in this historical moment. My short answer is that it's terrible, and they're not coming anywhere close to the magnitude of what's really at stake. What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree. I do want to give credit to some news outlets who have had Republican members on. Republicans' number one big lie that they're telling right now is that the reason why we're not passing, a budget or opening the government or trying to negotiate with Dems is because Dems want to give undocumented residents healthcare. Like, first of all, you cannot, like, there's no federal Medicaid that can go to undocumented folks here who are in our country. That's like a full lie. States, however, can have other policy and legislation that says that they will fund for undocumented, people here in the country to get healthcare, but that's not a federal guideline or policy. But this is what they're lying, saying, like literally. And I saw a lot of news outlets pushing back on Republicans about that lie, and I thank them for that. I will say that there's an attack on press, Baba, like that's what's happening right now too. Like people they do not possess the courage to speak out and speak truth to power because what is happening right now and how people are basically getting blackballed and intimidated and bullied out front in public by this administration. And so, there's definitely, it should be more reporting. It should be more, mainstream. But this is the times that we're living in, which is sad. It's a sad time for the country.
Yeah, like I always, again, I appreciate seeing you out there, and I appreciate the feeling as well, because you're absolutely right.
I can't hear. Is he sense?
We got to do some of our rocks.
Oh my God! Like, somebody get this man a phone. Can somebody get this man a phone?
I got an iPhone. What y'all talking about? I got an iPhone. I don't know what's wrong.
Please get your bestie a phone.
I might have to use my laptop next time.
But you can hear me. You just can't hear everyone else. Rahaman, you can hear me, but not everybody else.
He can't hear me.
Turn your volume up. Your
I
volume
can't
is
hear
down.
Jonathan.
Oh, you can hear me.
I hear Ed. I hear LaMonica. I hear
Oh, you hear all
Zaire.
of us now.
Tariq. I don't hear Tariq neither.
Poor
Wow.
Yeah, I
guy.
don't know.
But you hear the rest of us now.
I don't know what's going on, folks.
You should.
Madam Congresswoman, do not
The
blame
Congresswoman came on
women
just
on
for
him,
you
but we ain't back
onto
yet.
your show, and you can't even hear her. Wow. That's,
I hear the Congresswoman. I do
oh,
hear
you
her.
hear
I
her?
don't hear. I don't hear Jonathan.
Oh, you don't hear me.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
I hear everybody else but Jonathan for some reason.
he always has these issues. It's
Oh,
not
fair
new.
enough. But so you can't hear me right now? No, you can't hear me right now. Okay.
Yeah, I
We
can't
can hear
I
you,
can't.
Jonathan. We can hear you.
Yeah, I can't for some reason. I have no idea
So,
why.
LaMonica, let me ask you a question. How can we help you with what's happening in Washington, D.C.? And, what's the message do you give to us, to make sure that, one, the budget is passed, but also we can hold this government accountable for the things that it needs to do for people?
Well, the one thing that I would ask, which we always advise, constituents to do, is one, call Congress people, call the Senate. Right now, today, about 2 hours ago, the Senate voted on the CR again, and it failed for the fourth time. Call your senators, and not just the senators that represent you. Call all of these folks. I mean, literally, we at our senior centers and different locations, different groups, they usually have a calling party, like just calling folks, expressing, their concerns about things. They're writing postcards, and I would say that folks should continue to hold their elected officials accountable at the federal level, because right now they don't give a damn. Like, they're doing whatever they want to do, and it's truly unacceptable. So I would advise you all that. I would also, going back to Tariq, something that you said, folks are so unaware about what is happening right now, right? They're like, oh, I'm good. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Like, I seem to be the regular Friday for me. I'm going to fry some fish and be okay. No. Like, we are literally dealing with a crisis right now when the government is shut down. All of these crazy things that are happening. And we have to inform our neighbors, inform our communities, our circles, our group chats about what is taking place right now. And we do that so good by word of mouth, and we have to continue to do that. I know that we're doing all that we can. I mean, me as an elected official, we're posting on social media. We're having these town halls. We're doing all of these different things to try to meet people where they're at, to inform them. But we need help across the spectrum of folks informing their circles about what is going on.
Can I offer one more thing? A few weeks ago, I was able to join Ras Baraka, mayor of the city of Newark, when he went to St. Peter's and also went to Harvard University. And he had that sort of town hall conversation. It was almost like, this is where we are as a democracy. This is where the country is opposing your democracy. And I want to, thank you, Congresswoman, for having those sort of intimate conversations, even in these spaces right here, about what we should do next. Because I think sometimes we forget that we have a mission as well as citizens, to get involved, to get engaged, to be informed. And a lot of times we get distracted by the world, right? What's Ice Spice is doing, or my Giants lost the other day, that sort of thing. And the reality is that doesn't impact, our day-to-day lives. That doesn't put food on our tables. And so I just want to continue to encourage you to do what you do, to have these sort of intimate conversations with people where they are and how they need the information. So I want to thank you for just being that grassroots leader that's ready for the moment. And this is your moment.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that, Alturrick. Look, like I tell folks, your civic and duty and engagement is just not on election day. Like, you got to get out of that. Like, it is not your job just to show up and vote and then just walk away. And then 2 or 4 years later, you like, oh, they ain't did this, they ain't did that, I ain't seen this. Like, you have to hold these people who you hired. You hired them. When you went out and you voted for them, you basically elected them to be of your service. And if they are not meeting the moment, you have to hold them accountable 24/7. This is a full court press field right here, and you have to be in it. And so we've been engaging, especially young people. Alturrick, you bring up how the mayor's out here. I know that the DNC and many folks are about to engage on a lot of HBCU campuses and a lot of college campuses to get with young people. But at the same time, we have to stop saying we don't do politics. Like, oh, it's not my thing, because politics is doing us. And the more that we're not playing in it, the more they're going to skip over us and make decisions with us not at the table. And they're fine with that. Like, that's what we got to understand too. They are absolutely absolutely happy that you are not engaged and you are not at the table, and they're going to continue to do what they're doing until we get into the game. So I'm here doing what I can. I thank you all for all that you're doing, all of the, speaking truth to power that you guys do each and every day, but more so on this platform. And I really miss you guys. I haven't seen you in forever.
Miss you back. We're trying to get you back on because we got to talk about, and we've got to talk about the fight that you're in, because and we have to get you back to have a much more extensive conversation about that fight, that illegal, unconstitutional fight where the video came out the other day. So we got to have a real conversation about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that, Jonathan. Look, I'll tell you in short, because I know you guys got to get back to the pastrami. What is this? Pastrami over
politics.
No, I'm deferring. I'm listening right now. I'm deferring.
LaMonica, I guess we can say officially you are Rock's first guest.
Yes.
He can hardly hear.
Yeah.
I cannot hear. I'm so pissed. I can't hear.
I'm so sad.
For some reason, it won't let me hear past five people. It only let me hear 5. It won't let me hear 6. I updated the iOS 26, so maybe that's what's wrong. I have no idea.
Well, look, I'll leave you with this, Jonathan. I'll definitely try to come back before October 21st.
Whatever she's saying. We love you, Monica. Be strong down there. We got your back always. You know that.
Look,
Did you let her talk?
I just wanted to say,
I can't hear her.
I just want to say that hopefully I'll be back before October 21st. But October 21st is our next court date. As many know, I've been charged with 3 felony counts for showing up, doing my job, doing my black job. And this administration is charging me for that. But we have submitted 4 motions to dismiss this case, and we're going to be having oral arguments on October 21st. So I'm right here in Newark. So we'll make sure we come back on to talk about that and how folks can, engage and, be informed. We have information right on my website that folks can go to. That's lamonicaforcongress.com to find out how we're in the fight, what process we're in, and how people can pitch in. So thank you all so much. I'll let you guys get back to Rahman, poor Rahman and his audio, but it's good to see all of you.
And great seeing you too, Congresswoman.
All right, Congresswoman.
And now we can't hear. Oh no, you're.
Hopefully, I can hear y'all now.
Now, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, okay. Let me see if I can hear y'all.
Alturrick, can you hear you?
I can hear you. Yes, I'm still here.
Okay,
Let Rockman's going to talk.
Yeah, Diane, can I hear you? I mean, if I can.
Be fine.
All right. Hey, let me hear.
Can you hear me?
All right. For some reason, it won't let me hear past 5 though. That's crazy.
All right, well, we're about to find out to see if it's fixed or not.
Yeah.
See if you can hear Donna. Donna, say something.
Something.
Yeah, see, I can't hear Donna.
You can't? All right.
Something. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Hello. Can you hear her at all?
No, I can hear you, Donna.
You can hear me?
So he can't hear you.
I can hear you, Donna.
I can hear you. But Rahman can't, and we're just trying.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my computer next time, folks. We ain't gonna have this problem no more.
Okay.
I updated this iPhone, so you know how they do. They force you to update. They force you to get that new one.
That's right. That's right. Obsolescence. All right. So we were talking about the vocational training, and I just wanted to to finish that conversation by asking you this question: what do you need from, is there something specific that you would want or need from the school district, from Newark Public Schools, to collaborate on doing this more? I know they're doing the School of Architecture, they opened up vocational, but there's more that needs to be done. What can happen to work in collaboration?
Well, I just think that they have to implement hybrid high school. I just believe that. I think that every high school should offer a traditional form of education or non-traditional. I mean, I heard what you said about Shavar earlier, right? And that is the problem. His thinking is what the problem is, right? So we give kids that's going to school, if they're not going to journey to college, we tell them that, well, you can take an alternative model. Well, alternative doesn't sound sexy, so people don't tend to go into any of those directions. You tell a kid, I'm going to give you some alternative, they think it's second class. But we got people coming out, electrician locals, making $80 an hour. How is that second class? That's a good living.
Right.
You make more than we don't treat it as that.
like in the vocations, you will make more money than the people teaching you in school.
And
Yeah.
you don't have the same loans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yet still we consider that as alternative education. We'll turn around here and do signing ceremony for somebody going to Howard, but we won't do a signing ceremony for somebody that's going to the CDL tracking school or the electrician union or the plumbers local. Why aren't they treated equal? Why is my career less than somebody who's potentially going to Howard? That's just not fair. You know what I'm saying? And the problem is these educational institutions, these schools, are lending to folks believing that if I go to be a plumber, somehow I feel less than you because you're a lawyer or you're a doctor or you're a teacher. I mean, it's wrong. And here's the thing. Here's the thing, right, Jonathan, that the reason the educational system is the way it is because everybody that's in charge of kids' education comes from the traditional way of doing it. They come through college.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So to them, success looks like college.
Because
That's what it looks like.
Mhm.
Right. So they push the idea that this is what worked for me, it'll work for you. But if you have 70 to 80% of your kids not going to college after graduation, what are you offering the other 80% to do? Right. What is their option? You know what I'm saying? So 20% you going to college, you sign them up college, they going away to college. But now you got a class of 300. If only 20% of them is going to college, but the majority of them not, what have you offered them as a different option for them to go to so they can be just as successful? They don't do it. And that to me is a problem. And if we don't change this mentality, this thinking in the school system, then for us to get to the level that we need to get to the level of having more electricians, more plumbers, more carpenters, more iron workers, more elevator mechanics, for us to get to that level, it'll take us, I told them it won't happen in my lifetime. It won't happen in my kids' lifetime. Like it's not happening.
And one of the strongest organizations in our history was the Association of Pullman Porters, right? Like we don't even understand the value of a solidly middle class lifestyle that's built on
unionized labor, unionized skilled labor.
Right.
Yeah, I want to add one more caveat to what Rahaman is talking about. I think part of it is that we have to, as a school district, I know we had talked about we have to engage the employers and find out what sort of training and skills are needed to have those jobs at the career level. And I think Rahaman and the Barack administration started to have those conversations. And I think it has to be more robust because it's not just start as, and I think Rahaman's correct. We can't look at vocational education as like alternative route. It's actually a good career. And we just have to make sure that conversation is very engaging from middle school on up. I think that when I was doing my recruitment with the school called UTI, I would go to very affluent schools. They have a solid vocational track inside their school system. It wasn't separated. It wasn't for those who were struggling in school. It wasn't identified for those who were troublemakers. There was that. And you're going to learn math, science, but you're also going to take carpentry. You're going to take electrical. You're going to take aviation. But I think the other part of it, when I was in the school board, you also have, and I see Principal Cafele on here, you actually have principals who are struggling with school-based budgets, and they have to make a determination. Do I put alternative educational a curriculum in our schools to get our kids up to a certain point, or do I invest in aviation? Do I invest in automotive? Do I invest in those sort of programs that can add greater value to a school? And I think it's happening right now. And I'm glad to see Roger Leone build on the concept of trying to make sure that young people have greater career opportunities than just simply a liberal arts education just to get them into college. The objective is get young people into careers that actually pay a livable salary that can provide for their families and generations afterwards.
You know, I had also talked to I want to say what's the term for freeholder now? It's not
Commissioners.
Commissioner Richardson about having an extension of Donald Payne of the vocational schools in every town. Like you having a Donald Payne extension in Orange. East Orange has that's a town that has a lot of empty school buildings. Why not make one of those buildings an extension of the Donald M. Payne Vocational School? Because if the kids have access in their community to vocational schools, you might see more kids going to vocational schools as well.
And in New
And I
York,
think-
they call them BOCES.
And I think the thing that Rahman was talking about, which I think is really important, is that those should be offered within regular schools. Like I know that you're right. Like in the Newark Board of Education, I think that different schools have different relationships and partnerships with different types of schools. Verizon is, I think that on one level, Verizon is partnered with one school, and their health services that are partnered with another school. But I think that what he's talking about is like a totally hybrid system. Again, Ramon, you back? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So
I am talking about that. I think that we have to get away from specialized schools and offering it every school. I hear what Alturrick talking about budgets, but the problem is the model that we have right now is failing. So it's clear that we're spending good money on failing. So why don't we do something different? You know what I'm saying? We cannot turn around and continuously put a model of education down that says that everybody going to college when we know for fact that the majority of the students that's graduating aren't going to college. And let's be very clear, even those that sign up, it's still even lower amount that's actually graduating college. So we have to stop pretending that this model works and start doing something different. And we have to do both. Period. They have to be done both. And but I'm going to say it again. If everybody that's in charge of the educational system is in charge of those kids' education, if they understand that their success came from college, it is the reason why they always push the educational college model, because every one of them come through that model. It's not fair. It's not fair to the majority of the kids who's graduating that don't have another option because the school system didn't give them another option.
And it also implicates itself on testing. The tests that we give are tests for like the most recent iteration of the statewide exam is modeled after the AP exam, and it is literally saying we want you to be college ready, college bound, and so it's not simply just a reading test, right? These are way beyond literacy tests and testing whether or not you could read and you can write, etc. These are, can you write a paper at a college level test, right? And I think that it's important to know, like when the PART test was what happened, went from every time that Newark and urban districts start doing well on these tests, they always change the test. And then they come up with a reason to change the test. But the reason why they said they changed the test is because they wanted to make it more college ready, and we want to get people college ready. And so it was paired with and I noticed this as a teacher. I teach AP English, etc. And I realized that the type of essays they wanted, what they wanted in terms of writing, was more modeled after the AP exam than it was before, which had just different standards. And that even can be more problematic because now we're not just setting policies just for college-bound kids. We're actually determining whether districts are failing now based on these standards that don't even belong in an actual public school district, because not everyone's going to college, but you do need them to be able to have the skills they need. So if they're going to vocational training, that they have those skills, right? And so there's not really even a recognition that our college exit exam, our high school exit exams should reflect not going to college, but they should reflect like being able to go to college or vocational school.
But the other thing that, Jonathan, to me, that what we should be doing with children going into these high schools is the assessment test. And when you go to any corporate America, they give you a personality trait test, an assessment, right? To determine rather the job that they're hiring you for,
fits your personality? Is this something? Is this something? And they don't do it based on whether we're going to hire you or not. Most of the time, you're already hired for the job. But they want to know what type of. They want to know what moves you, what type of leader you are, what type of worker you're going to be in that position. Well, I don't understand why we don't do that going to in high schools, where we can go over those personality assessments with these kids so that they can understand this may pique their interest more than something else.
And now, Tariq, having been a school board member, I know, like in the Caribbean, they do a test at grade level to see if you're going to vote, if you're more
where your
prepared to go
inclinations
to
are.
vocational or to go to college.
Mhm.
In our K through 8, are we doing any assessments to see where the child may be more likely headed to?
There are assessments, right? Like I remember taking an assessment back when I was in college. I mean, in high school, and there are certain assessments done. But I think the point that you're making, Rock, is even if an assessment is done, there's no place to go, right? Because if everything's a college track, I mean, it's a nice assessment. It lets you know what you might be interested in the future, but it doesn't let you know where you can go.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
But so it seems like that's what you're talking about. It needs to be
Right. It needs to be specific, right? And so if I'm saying that I work better with my hands, that may interest me, why isn't my curriculum based on the fact that I work better with my hands?
Right.
I would rather you master that so that when I graduate high school, that if I want to go into one of these trade unions, then I'm able to pass their test so that I can get up in there. What we're doing right now is we're graduating people stating that they have algebra 2 or English 2, and then we take them to the test and they fail on the 7th grade math and reading test. That to me is not success. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? That's not successful.
Right. And I think that we also have to get over being scared of what used to happen, right? We think that if you're getting these tests, then they will put all Black kids in some place, and they'll tell you that you're only good enough to be this. And so I think that there may be a fear of doing something like that because it seems like the test equals destiny, right? As opposed to what you want to do. But I think that the way we should do this is just, here are the options. So whether it's the test or whether it's you just like, here are all these different opportunities that you could do, right? Like there are kids who think differently, right? Or all kids really think differently, right? Like we have all different learner types in the same class. You could have a lot of different learner types. And I think you're right. We cater to the kids who are good at language. We cater to the kids who are good at the humanities and good at and good socially. Like if you're good with language and you're good socially, you can go very long and far in in our education system, because the education system is made for you, because you communicate well, you write well, and that really is that entryway into everything else academically. But we don't really even prioritize these things that will make so much money for our community and traditionally has offered us entrepreneurship and the chance to have our own businesses. I remember on the dating sites, right? Like before I was a married man. There was these conversations. Before I was a very happily married man, there were a lot of conversations that people had about like what women wanted, right? And women didn't wanted a man who made 6 figures, 6 feet, that kind of stuff, right? And part of the conversation was, if a man's going to make 6 figures, he's probably going to own a truck. He's probably not going to be a college graduate. He's probably going to be somebody who owns their own business. And there was a lot of tension in this in the dating community. We're like, I don't want to date somebody with a truck. It was like, that's the person who's going to have the money, right? Yeah, the auto mechanic, the person who owns their truck and is able to do certain things. So,
and not saddled with college debt, huh?
Right, and not saddled with college
debt.
Right.
Yeah, that's why a lot of us still ain't married too.
I guess we didn't get a chance to talk about that Century Board debate tonight, huh?
Fair enough. We we were interrupted by your first special guest.
I know.
Especially during the government shutdown. I mean, that's
Right, and
big.
during the government
Yeah, that
shutdown
was
too,
big.
right?
No. She definitely blessed us with her
She didn't call CNN.
Right.
She didn't call Roland Martin.
Right.
She didn't call MSNBC. She chimed in with you guys.
Right. So Congresswoman MacGyver, thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate the scoop, right? Because it's all what's going on in Congress like right now.
Yeah.
Can I make a commitment? I commit one pastrami sandwich from Rahaman to be delivered on a time of these conversations, so it can be a true pastrami in politics conversation.
We would have to DoorDash it.
Yes.
We all have DoorDash accounts.
Yeah, we'd have to DoorDash it. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man, I appreciate the conversation, man. Like always. Thank you. All right.
But
And we got to talk about that, Rob, because you're really committed. Because I think I asked you one time, like, you don't use the different other places because it's a cost analysis, right? Like Uber Eats and all of them. You use DoorDash because of the cost.
Well, I mean, I use all three, but to be honest with you, it's cheaper if they just go on the website and order from the website, because Uber charges you a fee for using their app, and they charge me a fee for you using the app, and they charge a delivery fee. If you go on the deli site, they'll send their driver, and they only charge you the delivery fee, and you'll get the original prices. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? The Uber thing and the DoorDash, to be honest with you, people pay a lot of money for that. I mean, they do it for convenience. I get it. But if you go on BigRock.com, BigRockDeli.com, you actually would come off better by ordering directly.
Okay, well, thank you for that, career. Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
And any comments about the Central Ward race or the gubernatorial race before we go off? Because I think that the next time we meet, it will be right around election time. It'll be like I think we have a show right before the election.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think the Central Ward debate was interesting. I think it's clear to me. I mean, I'm biased, so it's clear. I'm supporting the meaning. Alturrick supporting the meaning. I guess that we don't need to, say that here. I mean, it would be unfair for us to just say that she won, which she did win. Hands down that debate. What I'm saying? Listen, I think the young man just needs some direction. I know Al got a different opinion about that, but listen, he reminds me. Maybe not at his age, because he was 37. I was already doing things at that point. But listen, when I was young, I thought a lot like that young man. So I'm not knocking the young brother. I just think he needs to be on somebody's team. He needs a little direction. I think that Tillman and Gale is more grievance driven. You know what I'm saying? They anti-Baraka. And I don't think that's the reason to run for an election. You know what I'm saying? Complaining about everything while you have no ideas about nothing, to me, is just not. Anybody can point out a problem. And, when Gail was on there, things wasn't perfect. There were problems then. You know what I'm saying? And so we can't pretend that the problems don't exist, right? Problems do exist. Can the city get better? Of course the city can get better. That doesn't even make sense. And the mayor will tell you that. You know what I'm saying? That he can do it. But that don't mean nothing is being done. And unfortunately, that's what they're running off of. Nothing is being done. And that's just not, to me, a good thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never advise anyone running for office to run on nothing is being done.
Yeah. So the reason why Rockwell and I disagree is because we just disagree off of one person, his analysis. I say that he's not a young man, he's a man. Like the pushback I have with Rahaman is that we got to stop treating black men as young people, right? Like for example, J.D. Vance was a senator at the age of 39. This young man who's running for council in the Central Ward is 38. He's a man, right? And so his idea should be critiqued just like everyone's idea. I mean, Dr. King unfortunately lost his life at 39, so did Malcolm X, so is Francis Fanon, so is these are men, and so we have to critique their ideas. They have to become more polished in the space they want to become leaders in. And so, that's just the only pushback that he and I debate on. And I think that if he wants to join the space, being in a circle of cynicism is not going to help us lead the city to the next level if that's the direction that he wants to go. And I think that what I do give credit for is that all candidates who put themselves in the position to run for elected office is tough. I mean, because your ideas are scrutinized, people are listening to you for every word. They want to see where are you a hypocrite at, how are you qualified? And I give them much credit. But I think that hands and shoulders above, I think Amina Bay, just based on her professional acumen, is just clearly probably one of the most gifted, council members that's prepared for day one to be in that position. And it's not just out of biases, it's because I witnessed the stuff. And we shouldn't hold being a Black woman against her, right? If she was a Black man, we would be talking about a different role. We'd be talking about her being the next Andy Kim. But because she happens to be a Black woman, we look at her and say, well, can she be in this position or not? She's more than qualified. And she's, in fact, I told Amina, stop being humble about the things you've done. Because I think the world needs to know how smart and how gifted you are. And I think you've done things that the people need to hear about. And just from a bias standpoint, as a Muslim, we have a large population of Muslims in the city of Newark, but we never had representation on the city council. And it's 2025, so
that's long overdue.
Wait,
time out.
Long overdue in this town. We had a
no, it's never been a Muslim on the Newark City Council.
In Newark?
In Newark. Ain't that crazy?
Barbara,
Barbara,
am I right?
That's crazy, right?
You're historian of the group. Am I right?
Muslim cities.
Yes, we one of the biggest Muslim cities. I agree.
Is she saying that? Is she
historian online. Am I right?
The Muslim community, we saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want that to be the only issue, but I do think it's about time that Muslims rally around that. Like it doesn't make any sense that all these years we're one of the biggest Muslim populations in the country. And all these years we've never had a Muslim representative on that council. It makes no sense to me.
That's
it makes
wild.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. So
hey, Rock, you know what's funny? Like I was the first. I think I was the first Muslim to serve in my position as surrogate for the county, and then now we have two Muslims. We have Tina Jallo, who happens to be from the Nation of Islam.
Okay,
and so she's Muslim, right? So, but I think that the city of Newark, based on our population, we need to have at least one. We just try to get
we need
one before I die.
I mean, every Muslim in the city of Newark should be coming out voting for Amina.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense all these years that we have not had a Muslim representative on that city council. I mean, like I said, it's good to have allies, but God bless those that help themselves. So you know what I'm saying. So listen, we need to put one of our own up there. You know what I'm saying, because we need to have representation.
I believe in identity politics, Jonathan. At some point, I believe in identity politics.
Yeah.
Well, in the story that I was going to try to get you to tell, I was going to ask you about. What do the council people actually do? What do you need them to do? And I was going to ask you to tell a personal story about that. I know we're running out of time, but when we come back the next time, I'm probably going to be asking, because there's always like there's the politics of the moment, and then there's the politics of the past that brought you to that.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
when you come back, we actually will have a council person and a governor when you come back, because it's the 7th of November.
Okay, so we meet after the election.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jonathan, are you guys going to the League of Municipalities? Maybe you should have a show down there.
We were not actually planning on traveling, but we'll talk. Let's talk.
Look,
all right.
I got an amen corner about that, Alturrick.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Rahaman, we talked about.
The good thing about it, I mean, we got a lot of people down there, man. We can put a little booth in the.
I was about to say that. Rahaman, we should have a booth in front of the party at the Mayor's Unity Party.
That might be dope.
In front of the Mayor's Unity Party, they got to talk to, our team before they walk in.
Well, no, Alturrick, no, actually, because we're on Friday and everybody's coming home on Friday. Now, the Congressional Black Caucus, it would have been, but on Friday, everybody's coming home.
Listen, it's special.
But Ed, we used to do the Tuesday show, so unless we do it, because that's actually that Tuesday and Wednesday is the beginning. So if you do a Tuesday and Wednesday special show that week, then we could do it.
Oh, for election night. Night show.
No, in November, for the league, the third week,
Okay, so actually the election is the 4th. They're talking about doing either the 3rd or the 4th. So we can look at that. That's something we'll look at. But thank you. Thank you for being on again this week, with Pastrami over politics.
Yes, I appreciate y'all. Thanks, Jonathan. I'll see y'all next time. Next time I have my computer so we don't have these issues, man. I'll see y'all later.
All right. See you later. See you later. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye, everybody.
All right.
Scott.
So Nedia is on. So we come back. I missed Congresswoman, and so because Congresswoman Crockett was on another local show, so we'll have to talk about that in between segments.
Okay. And Nedia Morsey?
Nadia.
Nadia Morsey? Are you there?
She may be having a connection issue.
Okay. Well, it seems like that's been
And
going
let her
on.
know that she can talk. Yeah, tell her take that mic off. Nadia, you can talk without. Even if we don't see your beautiful face, you can talk. We can hear you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Now we can hear you. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Good to be on. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for being here.
Nadia, a lot has happened since you've been on, and a lot is happening regularly. And we want you to certainly give us a long view on what Make the Road has been doing since then. The last time we actually connected, we were in Elizabeth, fighting against, the drama that's in Elizabeth, that's in Union County, around the old county jail. Well, a lot is happening. You're doing a lot, but most recently, the point of action that brings you back to us this evening is the powerful protest y'all organized a few days ago around this company that folks who are not in the stock land probably don't know a damn thing about it. I knew very little about, called Palantir, and their role as providing surveillance technology for ICE, the government, etc. Take us to school as to what that's all about.
Absolutely. And just like you shared, Brother Zaid, New Jersey has become the epicenter for immigration detention. So at the start of the Trump administration, or Trump 2.0, New Jersey had 260 ICE beds. Since that time, that number has tripled. We now have more than 4,500 detention beds. We are now known in the immigration spaces as the ICE capital of the East Coast. We have the most number of beds on the entire coast, that because of the opening of Delaney Hall in Newark, that operates with impunity, and Fort Dix, a military base, and there have been conversations since rumors about opening the Sussex County Jail and Bo Robinson as immigration detention spaces. And what we've seen, not just in New Jersey, but all across the country, if the Trump administration is interested in carrying out mass detention and deportation, they will have to look to converting abandoned spaces in order to detain as quickly as they have envisioned and as they have started to do. All of that takes us to, there is a broader conversation to be had about data surveillance. So what we have seen is the hypocrisy of this administration. You see now ICE raids are being conducted and you see agents wearing masks. You don't see consistent ICE identification because the federal government has commissioned HSI, ERO, the marshals, all to carry out the bidding of ICE. And so you'll see some folks in green vests, some people in blue vests, some people in uniforms, and others in plain clothes. And so we are living in a fascist regime. But beyond having masked agents and raids, what you have seen is the growth of the black market for data. ICE, like I mentioned, in Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, tripled ICE's budget, capped the number of immigration judges to 8,000, has put 10,000 more ICE agents into the streets, and their ICE alone does not have the infrastructure it needs in order to conduct wide surveillance. And so you have started to see the proliferation of data brokers, third-party data companies, including that of Palantir. So Palantir is owned by Peter Thiel and Karp, who are some of the richest men in the entire world. They run Palantir, which is a software surveillance company, and they were most recently paid $30 million to create Immigration OS, which is a platform where they pull together publicly available data and then purchase third-party data from state and local government, and then in turn pull all that together into an easy software database, think Salesforce or Nation Builder, and then take this neatly stored software system and sell it to immigration, who can then use it to conduct real-time real-time surveillance of people and their loved ones. There are multiple risks with the proliferation of companies like Palantir. The first is,
I was going to say, what are some of the things that we need to look out for if social media and data companies, because when you say Palantir and you say data company, can you give us a breakdown of what it is that you're talking about? Like what are they and why are they, what do they do and why are they so insidious?
Yeah, so if you ask the state of New Jersey has robust data protection laws, and so they aren't selling data to ICE, which is true. But they are selling it to third-party data brokers without getting anyone's consent, right? So currently, MVC sells data to third-party data software systems, which then sell it to ICE. And so what you are running up against is, when I go and I pay my taxes, that money, IRS can sell that information to a data company. And this is what we've seen this historically, right? Where this is how you get ads on your phone. This is how you get magazine catalogs sent to your home.
Did you say the IRS? You said the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. They sell our data?
Yes, they can. They are totally allowed to sell your data to third-party data brokers, so long as they're abiding by their data privacy laws, which are very thin, right? Remember, these data privacy laws are old, right? They have not been updated for the tech savvy world of today, which is why you have a state now that is saying that while they do sell people's driver's license information, right? Not just immigrants, everybody's driver's license information to third-party data brokers, that they haven't broken any laws because they haven't sold it to any federal enforcement agencies. But
wait, stop. Hold on.
The third-party data brokers have turned around.
Nadia, wait. Yeah, pause right there.
Let's pause.
Yeah. And I think the driver's license is something that is common to more people than not. So if are you saying that they possibly can sell our driver's license number, or that Donna has a driver's license and she lives in? What do you sell?
And Zaid, it's not the black market. It doesn't seem like it's the black market for data. It's the open market for data. Right. It's legal. It's not underground.
It's totally legal. Yeah. I mean, it is. And right, like, there is the United States has oftentimes prided itself on people having a degree of privacy and the importance of consent. And we have very quickly eroded that. And we hear in an administration that is talking about self-regulation, but also is conducting mass profiling. Because in order to, the propaganda has been, we've conducted data surveillance so that we can target immigrants and we can target criminals, but that's not how we cure for data. When we cure for data, we purchase all of it.
Nadia, did you hear my question?
I don't think I did.
Okay, so I was saying, so when you said like our driver's license, so are you saying that like our driver's license number, or are you saying that Donna has a driver's license and she lives at, like, what information off a driver's license would they be able to sell?
All the stuff that you submitted, like your driver's license, including the photo, and then all of the materials that you submitted in order to get your driver's license.
So the 6 points that you
Address.
mentioned.
Wait, so if they can have your person, I mean, so you
This
were
is also
submitting
being
this.
done. We've also, states across the country have also been able to confirm, right, that the state boards of public utilities and PSENG have also been selling their data to third-party brokers like Palantir, because, ICE is most interested in that because oftentimes your utility bills has the most updated address of a person, of a family. And so again, right, like the demand that we shared, in the streets of Newark on Monday was first that New Jersey currently invests pensions into Palantir, and we want to have no business with Palantir.
Right.
And then second, we are considering and doing our research, to make it clear that we are not interested in the state directly or tertiarily selling any information to companies that use it for racially profiling folks and data surveillance.
Right on.
Wow. Okay, so you hit me with a lot, right? Because I thought that we were talking about simply what is going on with immigration, the racial profiling, and then when I saw the Palantir part, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But it is being used against undocumented people, but it is also being exploded because it's potential to be used by anyone, right? Like, as in right now, so what are they able to do right now with undocumented people with Palantir? What can they do right now that they can't do if you are, like, what stops them from doing it to everybody else right now? And yes.
It's a great point, right? Talking about how Palantir is only using this information to sell it to ICE to only target immigrants is a falsity, right? Because you can't just purchase the information of immigrants' Facebook pages because you don't know who those people are.
Right.
So you're purchasing everyone who's Black and brown. That's all the data that you're purchasing. If you are thinking that people that have a Latino sounding last name, or if you think that they have a Black sounding name, you're pulling all of those folks into a database, right? Because the system, while we're collecting data, is still not sophisticated enough, right, to go so far deep down that I can track your Facebook page or I can track your driver's license to know that you're a criminal, right? To make an assumption that ICE has the level of sophistication of data to do any cross-referencing is untrue, which is why they contract out.
It's why the Kavanaugh rule is so important. But is that why the Kavanaugh rule is so important? By the Kavanaugh rule, I mean the decision that Kavanaugh made that racial profiling was legal. If they sound Hispanic.
Which is why it's so incredibly important. Yes. Like, we are, and because we have made it a lucrative industry, and right, like Palantir is now your AI slave catcher, because that is how they are going to be able to target folks and make a case, right, that like, well, ICE has identified it that these folks are criminals and they are harmful to society, and for those reasons, right? But like they are using trigger words by calling it immigration OS, but they're not just pulling information of immigrants, because you can't there's right, like the same way that it would be difficult for me to go onto MVC's page and figure out who is immigrant or not. You have to pull all the information,
and you have to
then you're making some.
And you have to make some crazy assumptions, right? Because literally, Justice Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, and his decision a few weeks back, which was so alarming, probably one of the most disturbing things that has happened in the last few months, literally ruled that racial profiling, like stopping Latinos because they look Latino, they sound Latino, or worse, they look like they could be undocumented, and they sound like they can be undocumented because they're Latino looking and Latino sounding.
Yeah. And right, like it's important to remember in all of this, the same way when we first started the police state back in the 1800s, that this is a money-making business, right? It's not just about the centralization of immigration detention centers, which bring profit, right? We have an incentive to fill those beds, ship people out, and then fill the beds again, because for every bed in a body, you can invoice. That's the same thing too with AI data software, right? You want to make sure that you are closing the most, hold the most contracts with local and state governments, are pulling data and have strong relationships with Facebook and Instagram, so you can have the best software system that ICE wants to purchase. That everyone, the oligarchs together, are making a lot of money by having a very sophisticated police state.
So what does Palantir do? How does it work? Right, like they sell the data to they sell these programs to ICE, and what does
Correct.
ICE do with it?
And then ICE uses those programs to figure out how they will conduct sweeps, right? So they've identified, similar to like just having I'm trying to think about like a similar database that a person could use, but they could tell the system, I'm out of the Newark field office, right? And there are 200 agents that I'm going to deploy today. I'm going to use the Palantir software that I've been given to figure out like where are the densest areas in Ward 1 of Black and Brown people. This data will also tell me, based on people's the amount of when the time of day when people are most interacting on Facebook, which could maybe tell me when people are most often to be home. And so if I go to Ward 1, I should go and hit the doors between 4 and 6 p.m. That's when I'll get the most reach of people. Or, this is the most busy area I can see from people checking in at their children's schools, or I can see from the DMV, like this is where people are going to be to pick up their kids after school, or this is the place that's most attended. I'll go there and I can conduct a sweep, right? Because now field offices have quotas, right? People are being paid by the number of people that they catch. So you want to be able to catch the most number of people because this is how they make their livelihood.
Wow. That is so it literally allows you to do a lot of broad fish-netted type of sweeps. And it allows you to do broad surveillance. So if I'm going to, let's say I have this data, and a lot of this data, there are a lot of people with Latino sounding names that work at a particular supermarket. And I get, based on their data,
all those places,
what time they would be there, right? Like during this time and this time, they're posting, oh, they work, here's their work schedule. I basically can find, and it's AI, so they can make predictions based on this. And they literally could be like, we're going to predict, oh, this is ugly, because they could predict who is undocumented and where they would be and where you could do the best search for. So they're using data to be able to do this. The reason why that is so dangerous is because there's no type of actual constitutionality behind this, because these are you're doing these randoms. You're doing sweeps that are actually random, but they're not random. They're just based on what should be unconstitutional parameters, like Latino sounding names, looking Latino based on their pictures, putting them all together and saying, like, odds are if we look at these 100 people, we're going to find at least 10% that are undocumented.
Correct. And it's the same way that like you used to have like Lynn Dobbs on CNN say, because I said it, it's a fact, right? Like by the very fact that like
Lou Dobbs may rest in hell. Lou Dobbs.
Yes. And like and by the very fact that ICE now owns this database means that all of these people in this database are undocumented. Again, which is untrue. And I think where we've had this is the argument that ICE is making, and like where we have folks that are undocumented and have committed a crime,
this is the very reason why we have judicial warrants. This is the
Right.
very reason why, it is the work of an agent, it is the work of a federal judge to say that X, Y, and Z has happened. I get a warrant filled out, and I go and I find that person at their home, and then I follow procedurally what happens next. But what we have seen under this administration is two things. The first is you now see ICE agents who line the halls of a courthouse where people go in for their asylum check, for their, they're applying for some sort of protection from immigration, or they just have a regular check-in that they've been assigned since they, crossed through the border. And inside, the judge will say, you know what, we've decided not to prosecute this case. This person is free to go. And historically, what that has meant has been, that person is free to, pursue some sort of relief. Or again, the state has decided or the federal government has decided it's not going to press charges. And just as those doors open, the federal government, which just inside told them that they weren't going to prosecute, is now being received by the same federal government and putting them behind bars and detaining them.
Right.
And so we are seeing an active, just like not even following its own rules government. And then second, what you're seeing is just this like using so much propaganda to blind you from the fact that we are on the path to eroding due process, right? We are seeing, and like a good example is, sometimes folks will be, sent in order for deportation because when they initially entered the United States, they were staying with a family member. After some time, they were able to pull together some of their own money and maybe move to another state where they could build a life for themselves and for their loved ones. And so they got an order from immigration to go and to go for a check-in, but they didn't get the letter because they don't live there anymore, or they got evicted. And so again, the letter never got rerouted. ICE doesn't have the sophistication to sort of follow people all the way. And so you've seen this sort of massive cutting of corners where they're buying information from PSE&G. They're getting information sold to them from the State Board of Public Utilities. And, I think that what we were trying to bring to light in Newark on Monday was we are investing like teachers' pensions in this, firefighter pensions, like the people that make our state so wonderful and great. We have taken their pensions and we invest them in something perverse.
Invested in fascism.
Right. Right.
Yeah, Nadia, I was going to say that when you said that, I thought of what we seen on the news where the woman was thrown to the floor by the ICE agent and she was in court. And the judge had just told them whatever, but to report back when that like no and report back. And then they go into the hallway. And I think, which is why the wife was so shocked, because they got this one decision from the judge and only to get in the hallway and to have her husband detained. And it was like, and then, when she's so distressed saying, please, will take me too. And then they throw her to the floor, and it's just, or the case of just what happened in Chicago as well, like showing up at an apartment at 10 o'clock at night and going
like night riders.
I mean, this is, I think, like the parallels to our earlier history are stark, right? We saw that just as slavery ended, prison population exploded. And I think folks often forget, like, what happens in those ICE jails is they're making underwear. They're making jeans. We talk a lot about how, undocumented labor in this country is some of the cheapest, but the cheapest labor is free labor, and the freest labor is that of folks in prison.
What is, I know that you are always talking about human rights as well, and the human rights in these facilities. Have there been more uncovered in terms of just what's going on? I think that, within the next 5 years, researchers will find massive human rights abuses, as they always do. What are you hearing right now?
I mean, even like Delaney Hall alone, that is, owned by Geo Group, has gone through dozens of lawsuits. Most recently, the reports that we've heard from within the confines of Delaney Hall in Newark is that they receive meals that are frozen. They often will have huge gaps in between meal times. When mealtime does come, it can be like a piece of toast, that there are mold in the showers, that, we have heard reports of folks saying, we sleep standing up because the jails are so crowded. There is no place to lay down, because you're waiting for another group of people to be shipped out in order for you to find a space to lay. Visitation is a huge issue, right? Where you're seeing folks not being able to see their loved ones because I went to go see someone that I'm very close to, but from one day to the next, they were now issued as a high security threat. And for high security threat people, there's a different schedule, but they didn't post that on the website because there wasn't enough time to post it on the website. The next day, his status was changed, and so now he was on a different schedule. But you wouldn't know because it's not being run by Delaney Hall. The visitation is run by Geo Group, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. He just doesn't have the time to update the visitation for Delaney Hall in Newark. And so these are some of the the biggest concerns that you're seeing. Or another thing is phone access. When Delaney Hall first opened in Newark and it still hadn't received any city permitting, it was still unclear whether it was operating or not. The phone lines were not connected, and so it was only by the grace of some security guards that people were able to contact their loved ones. Oftentimes you need to put money onto your phone before you can access the phone, but because of how private prisons work, they make the most money if they ship you to Louisiana and then from Louisiana deport you. And so by the time you get money on the phone, you're already gone. And it makes it difficult to be in touch with your loved ones quickly. So those are just some of the things that we've heard in the last couple of months.
And Nadia, these are like regurgitating. I can remember years ago the case against the prison system with the phone. So I can imagine that this is money on top of money because they're negotiating contracts for who's going to provide the phone service. And oh my gosh,
everything. Yes. It is. I think it is so important to remember that there are a handful of very, very rich people who are making money off phone contracts, off jail contracts, off data contracts.
Mm-hmm.
It is a business. I mean, in the same way that keeping people undocumented for more than 30 years is a business. You make money every time a person applies for asylum. You make money every time a person applies for temporary status. You make money every time a person has to, apply for some new consideration. The government makes more money on you being undocumented than it does on you being a fully realized citizen.
And this administration's been in office January 20th. We're not going on 9 months, and you have not heard of a health care bill coming up, an immigration bill coming up. So these things are so important about the borders and everything. So it's about this money recycling in the fashion that they're doing it, because there's no bills coming up to make sure there's an orderly process in how this is done.
Absolutely. And you see constantly how immigrants and Black people have become the scapegoat for all the woes of society. There's no housing, there's not enough jobs, there's not enough X. When really what we're seeing is how much money we are pumping into a prison industrial complex while the state and the federal government issues tax cuts for its friends. And in order to supplement those tax cuts, they have to gut programs like Medicaid and healthcare. Why are we gutting programs that keep people alive and keep people well who have cystic fibrosis, but we keep detaining others?
And this morning, I started my morning out with Congressman Benny Thompson, who represents down Louisiana, talking about immigration, but because of the farmers who most immigrants work on those farms, nobody's picking those crops. Now this administration is talking about floating a bailout of something that's self-made. This is crazy. A self-made emergency.
Do you think that everyone, like the Republicans, are always very, and the MAGA crowd is always very disciplined, and they're just talking about left-wing radicals, et cetera, when really they're covering that they're a white nationalist government with a white nationalist agenda.
When you say disciplined in what?
Disciplined in that they will always use the same terminology to define their enemies, right?
They're talking points.
Yeah, and the way that what they are a white nationalist government. They've gotten people to believe in replacement theory, and white people, unfortunately, the majority of white people who support them are made to feel better by this, not worse by it. Is there a thought that this like ugliness, because the reason for mass deportation, and yes, it is money making. Yes, they are making massive amounts of money off of this, but they are also making money off of this because it is something that they want. They want a whiter nation. They want a nation with fewer Black and brown people in it. And it's pretty blatant. I mean, it is not a byproduct of this administration and what they do. It seems to be the top of the agenda of the administration and what they do. And I don't know if we're really talking about it in the open way it is, because we know that they're flagrantly racist. We know that but we don't really talk about, no, this is a concerted agenda of white nationalism to make the country white again. They want to make sure, like, that is why the people who were legally here, and I think this is really important in a lot of the immigrant communities. Many of the first generation immigrants who became citizens supported Trump in the last election, and in disproportionate numbers. When we look at even in our own communities, to start the forefront is like, no, like, you don't understand. This is actually a white nationalist agenda. They don't want you here, right? Which is why the Venezuelans just got surprised by it, because they were like, what? How did we have TPS? And he was like, no, you don't, right? No, you don't. And people are like, this is a betrayal, right? Because like, you're literally deporting my relatives now who were here, and I thought we're here safe. They weren't legally. And so I think that if we talk about the blatant white nationalism, like this is a blatantly racist agenda to bleach the country. They want their bleachers. They want to bleach the country again, right? That is their agenda. Do you think we need to talk about that more openly and brazenly in every corner?
I do agree. I think that there is an effort by this administration to take us back to before the Reconstruction. I think that has been the intention for a long time. I also think that, the truer story is that less people turned out to vote in 2024 than they did in 2020 and in 2016. And I feel like our theory had been for a long time that the reason that folks stayed home was because we were not talking about the bread and butter issues that impacted them the most. Like, as much as we were talking to folks on the doors about, like racism and a white supremacist agenda, what we heard on the doors was like, okay, but that's far away from me. Like, what's right here is the fact that I can't pay my rent and there aren't enough jobs and my wage is not enough. And, immediately following the 2024 presidential election, we launched an initiative called the Million Voter Project, an effort to reach out to 1 million low propensity Black, brown, and AAPI voters to understand like why it is that folks stayed home and what would have turned them out if X, Y, and Z was on the ballot. And the top two issues that we got were taxes and the economy. Taxes and the economy and housing. And we tested out that theory. So in Passaic, most recently, Passaic is a powerful case study because Passaic has the largest population of Puebloan Mexicans outside of the state of Puebla. And the city flipped for Trump in 2024. Incredibly impoverished, right? You're talking about a medium salary in the entire city of Passaic of about $39,000 for a family of four, went entirely for Trump, and exactly sort of all the tropes that you just mentioned. And 6 months later, on a campaign that was talking about a statewide rent control, a $21 minimum wage, taxing the rich, Ras Baraka won Passaic overwhelmingly. And not even 2 months after that, Passaic
But
voters put on the ballot a referendum to stabilize the rents at 3%, get reimbursements for substandard living conditions, and only 2 weeks ago passed one of the strongest rent stabilization ordinances in the entire country, or in the entire state. I say all this to say, like, I think the white nationalist agenda is real and true. And if we want to mobilize the bases to bring them into a space to talk about that is the undercurrent of all of this, we must first talk to people about the bread and butter issues that concern them the most. And when we start talking about taxes and the rent and the wages, people will come and they will listen and they will want to get engaged more civically. And we've seen that. I mean, within the very year that Trump was elected, we've seen how people have aligned themselves with more of a populist agenda when they heard from candidates and heard on issues that were aligned with the things that impacted their bottom line.
I think the only pushback that I will give on that is that, like, the majority of Black people face the same economic issues and were able to see it as what it was, right? And if you're looking at the Baraka's campaign blew up when he got arrested, and in dealing with ICE and detentions and the detention facility in terms of actual advocacy after that white supremacy had reared its ugly head and started endangering a lot of people within their communities. I think I'm talking about a broader education in, like, anti-Blackness that has to take place, and not as a secondary thing, but as a top line thing in terms of the education in our communities, because the same thing happened in 2016, right? Like, you had growing, you had a lot of the intense anti-immigration feeling, and then once that subsided, then and in a different administration, then there were lots of instances and lots of connection, and lots of anti-Blackness from within certain immigrant communities, and tensions that rise when there really is a politics that connects us if we actually stay on focus in terms of we do have a very common agenda that is a anti-racist and, like, agenda if we actually consistently work within our communities. I think the only thing I'm saying is I would not, yes, economic agendas are important, but they're important to Black people too. But we also see that white nationalism wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I think I think economic issues galvanize a working class population. And so, I think it's a powerful example of, tenant union power, where you saw tenants reclaim an identity, which is often considered to be a shameful identity, right? A situation where people often think that the landlord is doing you a favor by providing you housing. And the work that we are attempting to do is having people reclaim that identity of tenant and being proud of having influence and having voting power. And so I think, like, we, to your point, like, need to do the work of finding common threads.
There has to be a class and race consciousness, not just a class one, is what I'm pushing back on. If you just have a class consciousness, we will have repeated failure, and we won't be able to trust our brothers or cousins because they will continually stab Black people in the back. I'm saying that becomes a major contention between our communities. Like, Black politicians have consistently been like, we are fighting for immigrant rights. And that's going back to 1965, when we even changed the immigration laws after the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. What I'm pushing at is there's not that reciprocity. And if there's only a focus on class, you're inviting that backstabbing to continue.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I mean, I think
We
it's,
have to have
the work.
conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, the work that we do around anti-blackness is incredibly important. I mean, we've done it amongst within our own membership, right? Of often you'll see a struggle between Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and Latinos of lighter complexion.
Fair.
Absolutely.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know. Well, Don, you can ask because I know we're bringing this conversation to close because Bandele is in the background as well.
Okay. Next step on, and Nadia, you have to come back because the one thing I was just going to say how I was going to say something there. I was going to say since the announcement of what's going to happen in February at the Super Bowl show, the conversation has been so stupid. It's and it's just like how we don't understand each other as a community. It's really sad, that how we're so much more common, but when it comes to making decisions about all of us, how we just fall apart. That's just to what Jonathan was saying. So we have to have a bigger conversation about that.
Absolutely.
What I do want to say, thank you for being here. And as you're doing the work, hitting those streets, educating our community, as you know, this is a hip hop political show. What hip hop artist, individual, or group are you listening to keep you inspired and help you do the work that you do?
Oh, I can't remember which I shared last time. I think it was Many Men by 50 Cent, which is my favorite song from middle school. The latest that I'm listening to, what's my latest? What's a good one? Oh, I just started I'm looking at it now on my car. Whacked Out Murals by Kendrick Lamar. I've been listening to that a lot this week.
Okay.
You
know that, Jonathan?
I don't.
Okay, so we got to put that on.
I don't know about that song.
Very good.
Okay, so you have us looking up a new song. Well, thank you, Nadia. Make sure and don't wait for us to call you. Please, by all means, get in touch with us. Is there some, because you're doing some very relevant work, and if there's something that we need to know, and for the audience to know, please, by all means.
We actually have to get you back on more often.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate your time, and I really appreciate the invitation.
Okay,
we appreciate
have a great one.
you and the work you're doing.
Have a good night, all.
All right, you too. Thank you. And that's another segment on All Politics Are Local. We love having Nadia Morsey on because this is I remember having her on right before the election or right after the election, also after Trump won, but before he took office. And a lot of these things were just being predicted. And it is just harsh the more that we're seeing it, right? And I'm thinking worst case scenario, what we saw and it predicted would happen in Gaza. And we predicted the levels of actual genocide that would take place, not going to happen, but the ways in which they're talking about it that went from being able to have the open rhetoric of a defensive action to there will never be a Palestinian state. We're going to raise everything. We see, many are predicting that will happen too, with the level of human rights abuses that are going to taking place behind closed doors that we're going to find out about shortly.
And to the levels of being dismissed. But to our guests, yes.
Thank you for coming on. We are honored to have you. Is this the first time you've been on our show?
You muted me.
Mic is not on.
I think you muted yourself, or your mic is not on. We cannot hear you.
Oh, put it in your ear.
Okay. All right, cool.
While he's doing that, and that's all of y'all will remember Monique for this.
Yes.
Monique for balanced
so
hair.
We can't hear you.
I was gonna say, are you related to Monique? Yeah.
Can you go back out and come back in? And you can also, before you come in, you can actually check your sound on the StreamYard system. So check your sound and make sure that you're actually being picked up.
So we have time to talk. So the Central Ward debate.
Well,
And that
Well,
was,
I saw most of it online,
Mhm.
and it was good. It
full
was
house. It was well done. I mean, I really give Newark chapter NAACP credit for putting together a tight ship in a very full house. The turnout was encouraging, and I hope there's a turnout on election day because it was a full house. I was very, very glad to see that.
And this is to fill Congresswoman's seat, correct?
yes,
That's right.
the Central Ward Council.
And they haven't set anybody in that seat since Congresswoman went to
It's
Washington.
in a minute. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's because why?
Well, I think that they just didn't want to do a special election, but I don't know why. I can't speak to it. But
Yeah.
I would have thought that there would have been probably a special election, but I'm not sure.
Sooner, yeah, we would have thought so. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Or an appointment
Right.
appointment to a special election. Yeah.
That is true. Often there's an appointment, but I think that there would have been probably. I think that there may be always problems when there's an appointment because the appointment would be seen as the particular pick or favorite, and then that would spar a certain backlash. So instead of doing all that, I think they were just like, let's have an actual election.
Yeah. So let's hear you speak.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
There you go.
I tell you, when I logged on, I did do the test. I saw the meter move, so I'm not sure. Maybe I did something, but it's good to see you all, and thank you for the invitation. What I was saying,
now you're frozen.
Particular jab at Baba Saeed. I said this might be the first time I was invited.
Oh, you're gonna put it back on us. Look at that.
I heard that.
Talking about pivoting. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, right? Like I just when we are doing the show, I just read up some stuff and I was like, we needed to have him on. So Zaid, if Zaid doesn't contact you, we'll contact you anytime you want to come on, brother.
Now he's frozen again now. Brother
Am I frozen?
You are frozen in and out.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. I just switched over to a more reliable Wi-Fi, so hopefully we're good for the segment. My apologies. Okay.
Remember two things. We've got two ongoing conversations that we want you to jump in on tonight. One is the ongoing conversation about the upcoming New York City mayoral race. Then there's the ongoing conversation that we have to deal with the loss of Assata, right?
Okay.
And I really wanted you to lift up your insights on both. And I have to say this too. She's you know who I've been trying to get on as well as everybody I've been trying to get on is your retiring executive director from the Alliance.
Oh, you know I'm not there anymore.
Oh, y'all really?
No, I left there earlier this year. Yeah, I'm the interim at Communities United for Police Reform right now, CPR.
Oh, okay. We gotta have a talk about that. That's an ever ongoing conversation.
Indeed, unfortunately.
On that front, I didn't realize that, but yeah, she's retiring.
She's retiring. She's retired.
Yeah, I'm talking about Josephine Elijah, one of our people's lawyers who really built up a very important, healthy organization that speaks to a very critical need in terms of what mass incarceration does to our community and to our families and to our loved ones, called the Alliance of Families for Justice. I had been trying to get her, and just get her on about all of her walk, because Jill is a long walk in this, and of course she would definitely fit right into this conversation that we're gonna have tonight. Indeed. Right? So let's walk back. This is a media entity, right?
Okay.
Well, let's start with this question, right? What's your take on how the media, and I'm talking about mainstream media, when I say how the media is treating this mayoral race as we're getting into the home stretch now, right? Eric Adams done finally punked out or gotten out or dropped out, however you want to characterize it. Right? Right? But when it comes to talking heads and the candidates talking for me, 9 out of 10 times it's everybody but Mr. Mandami. That's just my observation, right? But
Yeah.
just to start this conversation, what ears to the ground in the streets of New York City. What's your take? What's your analysis? What's happening?
So let's start with your analysis around the media. I think I share a similar observation. Part of what I have seen is that there is a concerted effort by mainstream media to fall in line with the machine of the Democratic Party, meaning wanting to do all they can to make sure that this Democratic Socialist is not elected. And so the questions that he gets on interviews when he does get FaceTime are, you would think that he's sitting in front of Fox News. You would think that he's sitting in front of Newsmax, some of these other right-wing conservatives, because they're using some of the same messaging, some of the same talking points. They may have lighter language, but the same points are being made, and the same, I think, implications are being made. So I think there's that, and we need to be really clear that this particular election has consequences beyond just New York City, number one. It has consequences beyond this election. The New York Democratic machine has been disrupted. Now, for how long is up to us. Right now, they are trying to get themselves back together. They're trying to figure out what other people they can put in place, other gatekeepers that can be recentered. And so they're doing whatever it is they can to make sure that Mamdani is not elected. So that's one. Two, and I've been guilty of making people upset by sharing this particular perspective, but it's one that I stand by to this day. We have contributed to this particular position that we're in over history by centering election day as the end all and be all of quote unquote civic engagement.
Totally. We had that conversation a little while ago right on this platform. Totally. Keep going.
So this idea of prioritizing get out the vote, GOTV, understanding that is absolutely essential for the actual election. What's missing is the ongoing organizing between elections that give our communities an understanding of who they should be voting for and why. Absent of that, the GOTV is 100% moving someone else's agenda, but it ain't ours.
Totally.
Right. And so I'm as an organizer, we're constantly fighting.
Let's have some fun with this for a minute now. Who's giving you problems with that? Because it's true as hell as far as I'm concerned. Right?
You know, the folks that are giving me problems are the folks that depend on GOTV and not what I call GOTO, get out the organizing.
Hell yeah, yes. Sir.
Right? Those that can actually create a narrative that people will not question, that people will not second guess, right, that people will run with because they're used to it. People will continue to check blue because this is what we do, this is how we do, right? And so there's all of that. So there's that. And that's a small segment. You know, I think there's another group of folks who have been pushing this for a very long time. Folks like Black Voters Matter, you know, Cliff Albright, Latasha Brown. Those folks have been, you know, before they were even professionally, you know, focusing on electoral politics, they were organizers first, right? And they have been consistently lifting up the need to have a sustained, organized presence to be able to inform our communities why we need to be organizing, understanding that election and voting is a tool, not the only tool, but is a tool that has to be used among other tools for our full liberation. Without that context, we are again fulfilling someone else's agenda, but not ours.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I seen Assemblyman, he was on The View this week. And I don't know if you had opportunity, but I thought it was a good interview, you know, because everybody on the panel, you could see it, obvious did not, I mean, while they were very cordial, everybody, and to your point, you would have thought that it was like a Fox, you know, But I thought as he gave a great interview, you know, I like the fact that he met people right where they are, which is very
Yes,
important.
100%.
He answered the question. He did not feel obviously threatened by any question, and he had a thoughtful answer. And so I thought, and to I think one of my which Whoopi responded to was you know, while he's, you know, at a thought process, he's realized that he is a young person and that there is opportunity to grow up, and so he's open. So I thought that answer around that question was very good. But I hope, and it seems to me that New Yorkers are seeing this, the fact that, and I think Professor Carr from Howard said that instead of at the primary, when he was the winner, instead of everybody getting behind him to make sure that the Democratic seat is held, which is the big goal, that the Democrats hold on to that seat, they start splintering and going in all directions instead of supporting and uplifting him. So I hope that, you know, oftentimes when people are trying to keep you from something, that should raise the biggest question. Well, what are they trying to keep us from? And I hope, and it seems that New Yorkers are seeing that, but it's amazing how they're doing everything and how mean they're being. Is that's the thing, that they are being very, very mean.
Correct. And what's interesting is they're using, you know, a very old trope around socialism that you would think we're back in the 40s and 50s, right? You know, oh, we don't want this socialist. And I think, you know, again, as an organizer, the first thing I'm doing is looking at what we have done wrong or what we could have done better, right? And we have to make sure we close the gap between our communities and their understanding around electoral politics. If that gap remains open, again, other folks will be able to determine how our communities need to move except us. And also they're able to interpret language that the state wants them to be able to use in that particular way. If we don't take a hold of that and be able to explain what socialism is, folks are going to be running with this false idea of what it is. And just to be clear, while it's not a secret, it has been said and hasn't been lifted up enough. If Zohran Mamdani is elected, he would not have been the first Democratic Socialist mayor of New York. The first one was Mayor David Dinkins.
Okay.
You don't get more mainstream than that, right? And so this idea that, you know, you're about to see a shift of New York landscape into something that is, you know, similar to what people's ideas of China is, you know, it couldn't be further from the truth. Right? Couldn't be further from the truth. So again, some of these narratives have to be really be countered. And what is going to be 100% necessary is for us to be able to develop a sustained base. And I'm talking specifically about Black folks right now, a sustained base, because we've been here before with every other quote unquote progressive mayor, right? I think some of the most progressive elected officials will tell you this, and it's true. Make me do it.
Right.
Make me do it, right? So we have to have a base to make them fulfill our agenda. If we don't, we're going to be back here again. And let me say this.
Everybody else that does that will have their agendas attended to. Absolutely.
Correct. And not only just the agenda, but we have to have the base to make, because we ain't short of agendas. We got a bunch of them, right? Throw a rock, you get a bunch of agendas. But do we have the numbers, the influence, and, you know, essentially, we want to be able to get the power to be able to make them do what it is our agenda has been outlined for. And if we don't have that, you know, we're going to be, because again, we've been here before. De Blasio was introduced as this left progressive candidate, and folks fell in line because of his history, because of who he rocked with, all of that, right? And then we saw him shift further to the right. Right, he went past center as soon as he got in office, right?
As soon as he got it.
Be clear, Eric Adams was never, you know, as far as I'm concerned, when he left the National Black United Front, and I'm not even sure what his you know presence was
what
like.
Value was there? That's right. Come on.
You know, but he has never been that. He has never been that, but it's been presented as that. But even if we had a base, he would have had to respond to us.
Right.
But instead, folks are responding to corporations, folks are responding to the democratic machine, all of that. But we have at this moment a responsibility to make sure we create a sustained base. And this has to be beyond DSA.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're talking politics, if we're talking true politics, I've had some conversations with the folks in DSA. I've had some private ones and some public ones. They got some work to do. They have to make sure they're reflecting the will of all of the constituents, and that means they have to acknowledge, recognize, and also support the existing Black organizations that have been here before they came.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. One of the usually when it comes to elections and machine orientation and running elections in our community, the drive is towards the appeal is towards the senior base, the elder base. Our elders are the voters in our community, and more often than not, unfortunately, our younger voices are not heard, not felt, not engaged. One of the things that seems to be very clear about this particular election is that this guy has awakened and has developed a multiracial younger voice that is really pushing to be heard. And my modest judgment is healthy. Where we come into that is the question.
Correct.
Right? How the community comes into that is the question. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think that this is an opportunity for us to be able to develop among this younger base just that, a really solid group of folks who are clear about how we're utilizing electoral politics. This idea that we have to be stuck in always having to choose the lesser of two evils is not going to last much longer. Right? We have to do a number of things simultaneously. One, we have to be clear that when we are organizing to put somebody in office, we have to make sure again that they're reflecting our priorities, right? Two, if they are not reflecting our priorities, we have to have a harm reduction approach, right? We have to be clear about the choice is who do we want to have as our opponent? Who do we not want to have as our opponent, right? If we can't think of it as along those lines, if we have to be stuck in this idea that we can only, elect the most left person, that's not how this works, right? Now, if we develop the base to make that happen, 100%, let's make it happen. But if we don't do that, we can't sit it out. We can't act like that this is not going to have real implications on our lives, real implications on our elders, real implications on our young people, real implications on our houseless people, on our working class people, right? This is real, especially in this moment where we are clear that our work has to be local. Ain't nothing happening federal. Everything that we need to do must be local to ensure that we create a buffer to protect us as much as we can from what's happening from this federal administration. We don't have the luxury to try to say that this ain't our fight. Some of the stuff I've been hearing people say, like, yo, let me tell you something. Please.
This is the time not to be disengaged.
Please. So yeah, we have some responsibilities that we need to step into like immediately.
Well, I know it's interesting how the conversation keeps changing based on what happens that day. Like when Adams dropped out, now you're hearing about the big conversation around education and changes that he proposes to make. And it's funny because it's only at the kindergarten level and not all,
Right.
So that's interesting. Like if you don't stay for the whole conversation, you think it's going to be like, so I'm wishing you guys success and to pull it out, because this is going to be and listen, as our neighbors and thankful that that we're working together, that we hold off and begin to build more locally, because it is important that people understand that all politics are local and you have to stay engaged. And thank you guys for just doing the old-fashioned walking door to door,
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed. That's part of what we have to do. Indeed.
Two things on this, and then we'll pivot to
yes,
other subject. All right. Housing is a critical question. Affordable housing is a critical question coming into this election. Um, you know, what are we seeing in terms of how that's playing out in the campaign and what he can actually get done, given the hostility that he's definitely going to get from the landlords in New York.
Yeah. Well, let me say I can't speak on behalf of him, his candidacy, his campaign. I'm not involved in either of them. I can say that I will be voting for him, yes, but I'm also going to be outside of City Hall putting pressure on him,
Oh, that's right.
once he's in there. So, I always say I organized yesterday, voted today, and I'm organizing again tomorrow. I can't speak on behalf of that. I will say, however, that he has
put to the issue.
Yeah, according to you, he's put a little bit more meat on the bones in terms of what he has imagined and is putting forth as a platform around housing, which is necessary, because a lot of people are saying, well, how the hell is he going to do that? He doesn't have the power to do that, and he's going to need to be able to have the relationships with the state to be able to move some of these things. What's his relationship going to be like with the governor? All of these things, and also what they're saying is the private sector. How is he going to be able to do some of those things? That's all things that are important. I just want to lift up a few things that I think help to inform this particular question. Years ago, an organization that we work with here in New York City called Picture the Homeless did what we call guerrilla research. They found by going literally borough to borough, community to community, counting all of the vacant properties that existed in New York City, and were able to determine that New York City has enough vacant properties to house every single homeless person in New York City.
That's loaded.
Right? So we don't even have to begin to talk about what else needs to be built. Right? How about we actually begin to prioritize how we utilize what's already in existence that's not even being used? And so I think that there are a number of things that help to I think illuminate why this issue of housing is more than the issue of just resources. It's more than the issue of how this is going to be done. It is essentially a question of, will New York City prioritize the human needs of its constituents? Will those elected to office be about that business? Even those who are using that language right now. Again, we've been here before.
and we will use it in a way that just won't make certain property owners rich by paying them, at some point years ago, $2,000 when it was outrageous. I'm talking about like when they would pay them the equivalent of like $10,000 for a room, but somebody was getting paid a lot of money, right, for that, to provide substandard housing, et cetera, for homeless people. I think that was like 20 years ago, where it was just not solving the homeless problem, but there were a lot of people making money off of it. And to what you're saying, there's more than enough resources in the world that there doesn't have to be poverty or starvation, right? The United Nations published a series of reports that are like, it's like starvation is a political choice,
correct,
and that even such a thing like poverty is a worldwide political choice, right? Like if there are enough resources in the world to actually deal with it, if we made a concerted effort to actually want to deal with it. One more thing on the politics of New York City and voting in general. I love what you said when you're like, because this is something that the mayor has also said when he was on our show the last time. Voting is about picking your opponent. It's about picking the person you're going to fight with. Mm-hmm. And as Black people, we just have to no, we're not going to get a dream candidate unless something drastically changes and it happens. And if it happens, it's great, right? Mm-hmm. But Raz ran for governor, right? He did not make it. He did not get the nomination. It does not mean that we are not going to look at this from a point of, well, we're going to have to fight somebody. Mm-hmm. Would you rather fight the Republican candidate, or would you rather fight the Democratic candidate? Mm-hmm. And if you fought them, what would you have to fight them on? Correct. What are the issues that you're going to have to fight them on, right? Like, because right now, right, like we're fighting issues of, should the 14th Amendment be real? Should there be due process? should they be able to pick up anybody off the street and figure it out later? I mean, that's the fight now.
Correct. Correct.
You talking about the basic tenets of democracy, John?
Well, you know, and I think, and I think this is part of where.
Which brings me to the question that I wanted, the second part of the question that I wanted to ask, and it's just you know, the
go ahead, please, go ahead, Nas. Go ahead.
Right now, you just mentioned that you're shifting over to the, you know, the whole question of the what's the name of the communities where you moved to?
CPR, Community United for Police Reform.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I'm worried about right away is that he wins.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell are the New York City police gonna behave when he comes into office?
True. And how they treated Dinkins. They treated Dinkins horribly.
Look, people remember January 6th, but forget the time that the
Giuliani time
took over City Hall.
Right.
No, not just turned it back. They took over City Hall.
Yeah, they
they
did.
beat up Black city council representatives. I mean, there's actual footage. It ain't a secret, you know, of them on top of cars, broke into City Hall. This rally that Giuliani was actually the one that directed them to do this. This is right after Dinkins was elected.
And that's right. And then turn around and won the election after that.
Correct.
Well, we probably know where the person that's 1600 got that idea then from.
Correct.
New Yorker.
Correct. So all of that to say that, you know, the NYPD, y'all have had this conversation a number of times. I remember Monifa being on talking about it, was created for a very particular purpose. Law enforcement was created for a very particular purpose. They're going to continue to do what they have to do. Again, this mayoral candidacy is an attempt to begin to disrupt some of those things. I have no pie in the sky belief that when he gets in office, stop and frisk will stop, that racial profiling will stop. I have no reason to believe that. I do believe, however, that he has the ability, again, if we make him do it, to disrupt those things as much as possible.
Right.
There's some very specific policies that he can put in place to make sure that police are held accountable to a higher degree, right? So we're not looking for somebody who's going to come in and totally disband the NYPD. That's not going to happen. This is New York City, right? We have to make sure that we are giving him the direction, we're giving him the support in some cases, but also the pressure in all cases to do what it is that we are saying needs to be done to reimagine what community safety can and should look like for all New Yorkers.
When Eric Adams was still in the race, he had a particularly powerful surrogate who kept saying that Eric Adams was for Black people, the Black middle class, and that if Eric Adams is not in, then the Black middle class will lose a lot of gains. This guy is coming in, has a bunch of white people who don't have any experience, and they're idealistic, eye in the sky, irritating white liberals who read a lot of books but don't know anything. Are we selling out Black people? Did we sell out Black people?
I mean, we can look at the past 4 years Eric Adams' administration and answer that question. If that particular position held water, we would be in a totally different position right now.
Totally. That's right.
Totally different position right now. So what we are looking at are people
he would win. He would be up for re-election and a heavy favorite to be re-elected.
Exactly. But what we are seeing is, again, this disruption of what our communities have been told politics are about. Like you just, select a few Black folks to be able to take some of these positions, and we're supposed to be happy with that. No. And you raised something, Baba Zaid, that I'm hoping that we can use this opportunity to further interrogate as well. We believe that democracy in its fullest definition is voting. It is not. When we minimize it to just the electoral process, not only do we bastardize what democracy is supposed to be, but we set ourselves up for positions like this. Democracy is not about just voting. It's about having fuller access, right? In a more meaningful way. It talks about, and it demands that we actually look at the process of electoral voting and all of that. But it means that we actually have the ability to have our wishes represented in a more meaningful way, in a space that is institutionalized, that allows us to be able to have a real clearer, I think, understanding and imagination of what our full experience can be and should be. Democracy is not and should never be limited to just voting. And that's been a huge reason of why we're here right now.
Absolutely.
And that seems to be deliberate, right? It seems to be deliberate that it's just about voting, because I think that my
consequences
being able to talk
being
about
politics
elections,
becoming the order of the day,
right? Like
even in our community.
I think it's not about voting; it's about joining a political organization. And if you join a political organization, you will know you will have an organic reason to vote. I think a lot of people don't vote. They are not members of political organizations. They do nothing political. And I don't care what type of political organization it is. It could be the political wing of your church. It could be dealing with an education issue. It could be the home improvement issue. It could be your local block watch. But I think that everybody, every human being, every black person in the United States needs to be a member of a political organization. It needs to be something that you put on your agenda to go once a week, once a month, right? To go to that political organization, to be on the mailing list of that political organization of an issue in which you care about and people are organizing around.
That's right. And engage in that process.
And I was going to say, you have to engage. And I talk about civic engagement. And I think I came up during a time, and maybe this is because this is at a point where people begin to understand that they needed the Black vote to take some of these elections over the top. So people began to come out to our communities, reach out to us, to knocking door to door. So I benefited from an era where people came to your door, explained why they needed your vote, came into your living rooms, did coffee clutches and stuff like that. Yeah. So I grew up under that expectation that I had to hold people accountable, but that people should come knock on your doors. And if they don't come every 4 years, that you come continuously. And if they're not, then there's a problem.
Right. And you should also be knocking on their door.
Mm-hmm. So I have and going to meetings. And
you need to be like, your representative should be tired of hearing from you.
Right.
Right. They should be tired of hearing from you and know your name. Right. You know, and I have a concept that I use because I was always debating folks around this usage of language around civic engagement, and part of what I recognize is that oftentimes that language implies a lot unintentionally, I think. And so I've always lifted up this other concept called communal responsibility, which essentially says that everybody has responsibility to do something. Right. It does not mean you should grab a megaphone and be on a corner. That's not what it means. What it does mean is that we all have the ability to do something to contribute to the material conditional improvement of our communities. And I take this from like the Fannie Lou Hamer approach of organizing.
Her birthday's coming up.
Yes, indeed. Right. And so that means that we all have something that we can do. Every organizer knows that not only do you need to get people in a room to begin to talk about stuff, but how you get people in a room means you got to be able to provide childcare. You got to be able to provide food. You got to be able to get transportation. There are more than enough ways that we can contribute to our movement. More than enough ways. I come from an organization called the East.
That's right.
Where literally we got folks off the streets who knew how to wire stuff. They began to help build a school by doing electrical work. Folks were carpenters. They were able to build the stages. People who were cooks provided food for the school that we had. Folks who were able to do layout, helped to do the newspaper. There's always something that we can do, but that we have to be real clear about what organizing is and what it is not. It ain't Al Sharpton, right? It means that you actually are about a collective process of changing the material conditions of our communities. Communal responsibility is part of what I push instead of some of the other stuff. But anyway, that's another road.
Barbara Horn was like Fannie Lou Hamer.
Indeed.
October 6th.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Now you mentioned this dude in your last breath, and there's an ugly place for him in this next conversation.
Okay.
Well, before we get to the ugly place, today is his birthday. Yeah. Huh? Al Sharpton. No, I thought you said Al Sharpton. I thought
I ain't saying anything about his
I thought that was
listen, I want you to hear what I'm saying.
Okay.
There is an ugly place for him in this conversation that we're getting ready to have about Assata. That was a little before you, Lumumba, but I'll come back to it if we need to.
Who's
And
him?
I'm saying that I do not want to center this conversation around his behind, right?
Who's him?
Indeed.
Because he's not the freedom fighter, new ancestor that we're venerating. She is, right?
But who's he?
No, he mentioned Sharpton. You know?
Oh, okay.
That's I just said Al Sharpton's birthday is today. I said that.
That ain't got nothing to do with what why either one of them raising his
I
behind.
got that. I said before you get to the ugliness, let me say.
Yes.
Oh, what happened?
Wait a minute, I'm telling we'll come to it. But
Okay, I'm just saying, you blew it up. You're like, yo, I'm like, who we talking about? We're talking about Eric Adams? We're talking about Al Sharpton? I mean, I just know there's some juicy stuff you hold it back on, man.
September 25th, the birthday of Ahmed Obafemi, and the day of ancestral transition of Herman Ferguson, both pioneers of the new African independence movement. I use y'all picture from Cuba from way back.
I saw that.
Everybody was in that picture.
I saw that.
Right?
I saw
now,
that.
Lucata put it up, right?
Yes.
It was a loaded pick about a very important moment for her influence on your generation and what y'all did, particularly in the land of hip hop.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed.
So in terms of, so we're here now. We lost somebody we, love ferociously. And that's why I get angry when Sharpton's name come up, right? We love ferociously, right? Broke all our hearts. But she died a free woman in a liberated in the liberated zone of the Americas. And we're eternally grateful for the Cuban Revolution. But I need you to lift up in this conversation, how this incredible warrior woman impacted you and your generation.
Ooh, it's hard to even quantify how much she's impacted me. And I'll share a little bit more, but I need to start from the beginning. I was introduced to Mama Assata by way of the organization that my parents created called the East, that popularized her story. So as a child, I heard her name. I saw her photos. Some of our students actually went and traveled to her trial when it was here in New York. Her trials, plural, when she was captured. And, we had, free Assata all over the place, free Sundiata. And in fact, Sundiata was very good friends with the founder of our organization, Babaji Tuwayusi. And so we had a newspaper, Black News, that was covering her trial, with Sundiata's trial. So I knew who she was. And she, for me, I always say my superheroes are real. They live and breathe. She was my superhero. She was my superhero for real, for real. I got a chance to meet her. That photo that you put up was 97 at the World Youth Festival. The World Youth Festival.
Yes.
I actually met her a year or two before that, and transformed my life, of course. And in that first meeting with her, I was able to tell her, well, I know of you because of X, Y, and Z. And she says, oh yeah, I know the East. I know G2, and so that's all she did. I didn't want to hear anything more because there's a whole bunch of other stories that I've been told about, what her interaction was with us. And, so there was all of that. But I knew that I had a responsibility to make sure that we continued the work that she was lifting up. And so in 97, myself, we had about actually 800 people from the United States that attended this World Youth Festival. And this was a festival that was attended by thousands of people from all over the world. These are young people coming from Palestine, from Ireland, from Nicaragua, El Salvador, Mexico, from Angola, from South Africa, all of these places. And we are basically there to reassert that we will continue to struggle and fight for the human rights of all of our people, making a global claim. At this conference, a number of other people were able to talk to Mama Assata as well, particularly a brother named Clyde Valentine from Stress Magazine, another brother who was a student, I forget where, but he was part of Students for Jericho, a brother named Kofi Taha. And what she said to us individually, but also let me just say this, she and Mama Nahanda had the same message to us. Mama Nahanda Abiodun is also an ancestor who also was exiled in Cuba. And oddly enough, part of her charge that led her in exile in Cuba was participating in the liberation of Assata Shakur. And so they both told us, said, look, y'all into this rap thing. Y'all know all of these rap artists. Why don't you use rap music to talk about our freedom struggle, to raise awareness about our freedom fighters, to, matter of fact, raise some money, you know, for them. We need y'all to do this. And so we decided to come back and figure out how we would do that. At that time, my job, I was with the Caribbean Cultural Center. I was the programming director. I did concerts. That was my 9 to 5. We, you know, did concerts. So we said, this is an easy lift. Let's just do some concerts to talk about the history of our freedom struggle, talk about our political prisoners. And in fact, oh, wait, let's do it in August and let's name it
Black August hip hop.
Name it after the tradition that comes out of California, Black August. And so we had to do some things to get permission to use Black August. We did it. And we decided to do the first Black August Hip Hop Festival, 1998, in New York City. The festival was actually in 2 different parts. We did a concert in New York City. All of the artists who participated donated their time. And then we also traveled to Alamar in Cuba, which is where the Cuban Hip Hop Festival was. And we created this cultural exchange as well as political exchange. In 98, we took the first group of rap artists over, Dead Prez, Tony Touch, a few other folks. We took another group the following year in 99. And it was that year that we took Common. We took, I think Black Thought was on this trip from the Roots. We took Mos Def, Talib Kweli. They had opportunity to be touched by Mama Assata and Mama Nahanda. Prior to this, much of our work around political prisoners was limited to rallies, demonstrations, poetry readings, teach-ins, giving out flyers, you know, and we were also doing the Hands Off Assata campaign. And so a lot of what we were doing was the same thing, trying to give out flyers about who she was, demands that the designation of her on the terrorist list be removed, all of this stuff. And it wasn't until Common actually met her, came back to the US, got CeeLo Green in the studio, and they created Song for Assata.
Oh, I never knew CeeLo Green was a part of that.
He's the singer. He's singing in it.
Wow.
Thinking of Assata. That's CeeLo Green, right?
Did not know.
Yes.
And I played this song 100 times.
Yes. Yes. And so I raised that to say that
Common from being able to make a graduation speech at Kane University.
Okay. Right. And I raised that to say that was, I consider to be one of the successes of Black August, to be able to take rap artists, to have them utilize their craft to talk about our freedom struggle, to highlight those who have sacrificed, have participated in this freedom struggle, and use their platform to do that. And he did just that. So to this day, there's no way that we can quantify how many people have been introduced to Mama Assata by way of that song.
That's fair.
We can't quantify that. We don't know, right? And that's the wonderful challenge for us to have, to be able to say that that's been able to happen. Excuse me. There have been a number of other trips that we went. We took artists to not just Cuba. We took them to South Africa in 2001. We went to Venezuela. We went to Haiti. We went to Trinidad. Sorry, not Trinidad. We went to Puerto Rico. I'm missing a few places. Tanzania, and all of that. And so the idea really was to popularize not only our freedom struggle, but also to learn about the freedom struggles in the locations that we went to. There's a documentary that was done by Dream Hampton that is available on Vimeo, on YouTube. Just Google Black August Hip Hop Project by Dream Hampton.
Yeah.
Check it out. It tells the fuller story. So that project itself really was a charge by Mama Nahanda to make sure, Mama Nahanda and Mama Assata, to make sure that we utilize our resources to bring her comrades home. One thing we know about Mama Assata, and very similar to Mumia, they're selfless. It was never about just them.
Right.
She never allowed you to have a conversation without knowing how and why she's in Cuba. Who are the people that were responsible for making sure that their movement had life after her, and what the folks that she left behind needed from us.
That's right.
She never made it about her. And so the charge that she gave us, like, we said, she lit a fire under us to go back and make sure that Sundiata Acoli is free, and make sure Jalil Muntakim is free, make sure Herman Bell is free, make sure Matulu Shakur is free, make sure Sekou Odinga is free, all of those names. And we took that as a charge. We took that as our responsibility, and I am not still fully finished processing her transition, but I can say that I am proud that we have been able to meet that charge, and many of the names that she listed are home.
There's so much I want to just add to that, but several things very quickly. I want to, because he's a regular on the show, and he was part of the generation, and was in that youth trip.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Rasparaka was a part of that.
Yes, he was. And just to be clear, next year, 2007, 27 is going to be
the
anniversary of that. And so we're thinking about getting those folks together. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
that's an excellent idea.
That's great. Go ahead, Jonathan. You were going to ask something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So can you tell us more about, I just want to go back to the culture part of it. There was a conference. There was like a get together in Cuba of hip hop artists, and you're saying Dreamhampton, and like what?
So let me just make sure, because I may have said it in a confusing way, but the conference that brought us all together, and the hip hop artists were not at this one, was the World Youth Festival in '97.
Okay,
that's where we got the charge, myself and two other folks who were the co-founders of Black August. That's where we got the charge to do that. We came back and
that was in Cuba.
Yes, this World Youth Festival was in Havana in '97. Yes. And so we decided to do the first Black August hip hop show in '98, first in New York City, and later that August, we traveled to Alamar, Cuba, for the hip hop festival. And that was where we did the next 3 years of our Black August hip hop project.
Okay. And so doing the festival in Cuba with is that where a lot of these the great pictures come from, right? Like with hip hop artists in Cuba and
yes,
Assata.
Yes.
And you see Common was there? Was Common part of that?
Common was part of our delegation. Who we took him to Cuba.
Okay.
Yeah. We took him to Cuba.
Who are the other? And that's where he got the inspiration to do Song for Assata.
Yes. And he was not introduced to her. He talks about this freely, that he knew of her story before the trip. He said he named one of his children after her. So there's all of that. But some of the other artists that were on that we took over the years, Dead Prez, Black Star, which is Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Tony Touch. We took some actors. We took Rosario Dawson.
Wow.
We took
Rosario Dawson. Be conscious.
I mean, I don't know if she put that out there, but she was on the trip.
Sorry.
Right.
I didn't mean to be Sharpton.
Right. Right. Over the years. So I'd have to go through and look at who we had specifically in Cuba. But throughout the years, we also had J. Rue the Damager. We had the Full Roots Band. We had Erykah Badu. We had Fat Joe. I mean, it was literally the who's who of hip hop during the 90s.
Serious crew.
Yeah, and to be honest, we did not expect it to grow to the extent in which it did. And to give you a sense of how the actual concert experience was, it wasn't your typical rap concert. We actually took the dynamics of your regular hip hop concert and turned it around, where instead of going in and being inundated with beer ads, soft drink ads, clothing ads, you're actually going through a bunch of tables
education
of organizers who are doing our human rights work.
Right on. That's right.
Right. As the concert is going on, instead of the images behind there of, again, all of these consumerist things, is images of our freedom fighters. Right. It's actually giving people an understanding of, we didn't just begin struggling. Like, we have a presence in this longer trajectory of our freedom struggle, and we have a responsibility to make our mark in this moment on that timeline. And so,
and you know what, Lumumba, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but
Sorry.
when you said it didn't have the normal beer, so they weren't underwriting it. So therefore, you were able to stay focused on your message.
100%.
And what I just made me think that is important that you do next year, because just thinking of the exposure and how you possibly changed your trajectory of a lot of people's lives and caused them on a path that they may have not been on. You know, case in point, Common making a song and naming, you know, Fat Joe just finished his PhD, and you know, these things that happen. So for you to do that show next year and possibly have that question, what did it was almost like you hear people talk about the Million Man March when they got on that bus and coming back home, what happened, and you know what, you know, things like that. So I will be interested to hear, you know, like when you go and you talk to the people that you were able to take and ask them, you know, what was the impact of that trip on there? Because I was at Shore University, and I remember, you know, having a beer company, you know, when Shaw was at a very low point and a beer company came in and they were like, okay, if we give you money, which Shaw University didn't take, they were like, you got to do boom, 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 boom. So I can imagine that it really made a difference of what you were able to do and what you did by not taking funds from, you know, the typical investors.
And just to be clear, that did not
birthplace of SNCC too, by the way. You to get that in. Go ahead.
Yeah. And that didn't mean that we were exempt from the pressure of you know, just the corporate structure. We had 2 venues pull the plug on us because of the pressure from the PBA. And we had to do some last minute moving and shuffling. They 2 venues actually said that Dead Prez would not be allowed to perform in their venue. And so
and the PBA, for people who don't know.
I'm sorry,
Benevolent Association.
Police Benevolent Association. Police Benevolent Association, which is the
police
union.
Yeah. And I call them a union because they ain't, but yeah.
There you go. You took the words out of my mouth, right? But you know, they are the racist infrastructure that supports the killing of our folks. But they pressured these venues to not allow us to perform, and we had to get creative with it. You know, some of our concerts were not in traditional performance venues. We had one at this place called St. Mark's Cabaret, which was not a performance venue, but we transformed it into that. We had one show in 2001 at the Synod Hall, which is part of the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. It was not a performance venue, but we transformed it into one. And so we had to get real creative with doing this show because we were not allowed to be in many venues. Yeah, and so the documentary, and before we log off, I'm gonna put it in the chat, tells this story. It tells this story. And just to be clear, we stopped doing
Dream Hampton directs it?
Correct. Yeah, Dream Hampton is a member of our organization. Malcolm X Grassroots Movement has been part of in fact, before I was a member, she was a member. And it's going on 30 years for me. But what I was going to say also, to your point around next year, we stopped doing the concert some time ago. Mostly because of, you know, it ran its course. It's allowed, I think, for other people to think creatively and do creative things around Black August. So we don't do the show anymore. Other people do other kinds of Black August activities, and we strongly encourage folks to do, you know, as much as they can to support those things. But we don't do the show anymore. The show is not happening anymore.
Is there a chance of bringing it back?
We'll see after next year's, after your retreat, I'm sure.
Never say never, but you know, it might. there's a slight possibility, but right now there's no plans for that. No.
Well, here's the thing that I want people to also appreciate too, and this is from a hip hop perspective and looking at hip hop globally, is that the timing of it for hip hop and for Cuba was critically important. Why? You know, this is the, you know, in the age when gangster rap was being elevated by the industry, and it was also being projected, you know, onto the airwaves of the Americas by our CIA and whatnot, and could create other kind of problems in places like Cuba. In fact, it was a part of the problem in the recent unrest that popped up for a minute several summers ago.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Hip hop used by our enemies as a tool of oppression can create some serious problems. So, you know, this and how both Assata and Nahana became known as the godmother of
Cuban hip hop. Correct.
This is the role that she played in bringing young people from Cuba who were in the hip hop into the process, into the conversation. It was huge for them.
Yeah.
And an important moment that served as a counterbalance to all that negativity that the industry was driving at the same time. So I wanted to put a pin in it.
And artistically, it's important to know that the Cuban hip hop scene was not an attempt to replicate the state's hip hop scene. They had their own style. They had their own, not only just flavor, but the way that they did it was Cuban.
Totally.
100% authentically Cuban. You know, they were like B-boys and B-girls about it. So it wasn't just rap music. You know, they doing the graffiti, they doing the study, they doing the dancing, like, you know. And it's hard to have anything in Cuba that is not touched by the Afro-Cuban aesthetic. So it's that as well. One of the first groups that we connected with when we went down there was this group called Orisha. You know, they have since evolved to now do reggaeton and other stuff. They're one of the most popular groups in Latin America right now.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it was important to make those connections, not only politically, but also culturally, for folks to be able to come back and learn, because many of them, I think for the most part, for every artist that we took to Cuba, that was their first time ever going to Cuba. And so they had opportunity to learn for themselves what that island was about, what that history was about, as opposed to reading about it and hearing about it through US media.
Were there any local, were there any Cuban hip hop artists, or, you know?
Yeah, plenty. So when we just to be clear, when we went down to Cuba to join, we participated in their festival. They had a Cuban hip hop festival that they had their own lineup, and so we went to participate in that. That was how we got in it, and you know, it was again their own flavor. And what was amazing was to watch these folks who very few of them, you know, spoke English, but they are reciting the words of Mos Def, of Black Star, of Dead Prez, word for word, right? And it's like, it makes us realize that our reach is far stronger than we imagine, and thus our responsibility is far greater.
And I got to say this too, because one of the things that's important, I want folks to appreciate this too, to build on what Lumumba just said. One of the ways that they teach English in Cuba is through the speeches of Malcolm X. Right? Real talk. It was international, not the last time, the last time that I was there a few years ago, we participated in an international education conference. And we brought in the whole question about Malcolm's legacy, right? We did a whole thing on Malcolm's legacy, Fidel's legacy, right? And how Fidel could be an education tool, right? And the late great Lucius Walker, right? And it was a heavy moment for us, and that was just a couple of years ago. But they have always, you know, their relationship with our struggle, the interrelationship of our culture. It's an African thing, you know. It's an African thing. It's a progressive thing. It's a revolutionary thing, and we were blessed to have a Palantir, a liberated zone in the Americas that could receive an Assata, that could receive a Nahana, that could receive a Guillermo Morales, and that could receive a Robert Williams. You know, I'm naming folks who have been exiled out of this
Exile.
in Cuba, you know, and there are more that we can't name because those exiles come from all over the world, you know, and it's, you know, just really important.
And keep them safe. Just to be clear,
Right.
I think, you know, I mean, it's a real interesting dynamic because part of what we were responsible for over the years has been really trying to make sure that we provided all the support we could to remove the bounty to keep our sister safe. That bounty was serious, $2 million.
It went up to 5, didn't it?
I didn't know it going to 5. It was 2.
Went up to 2.
Okay.
In this election cycle, your Republican challenger, Mr. Citarelli, wanted to up it some more before she died. Okay. So and then it started with Whitman, and it went to 1 when she was governor. Okay. And the whole thing about Assata's open letter to the Pope, that's because Whitman went to the Pope to try and get the Pope to help Cubans turn her in. Right. It was in response to that. But when it went to 2, that's when Cuba had to become very careful about how exposed she was and how exposed they were, right? So I mean, so when we miss her, we don't just miss her from her passing, we miss her from the security that she had to go through once that bounty got accelerated under Mr. Obama, by the way.
Now, did that that very much impacted her safety in Cuba because
100%.
that would actually increase independent vigilantes to go break into Cuba and try to get her there. Did they literally have to deal with that?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to get to. What we found is that when we tried to celebrate her here, we meaning broader movement, our folks, period. If folks did a really popular thing that caught the attention of the media, what ended up happening almost every time was that also triggered people to find out about the bounty. And so, yes, the Cuban folks did tell us a number of occasions that they did have to disrupt a few attempts to capture her. And so their message to us was like, hold off on all the public stuff, because the more y'all lift her up and revere her, the more people realize that there's a bounty on her head, wanted dead or alive.
Okay.
And it made their job to protect her much more difficult.
That's right. And ultimately had to put under wraps for real.
Correct.
Yeah. That's real stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So they did an amazing job of keeping her safe for the past few decades. And it wasn't easy.
And I think that the thing that makes us both mourn her passing, but celebrate her passing, is that she died old age, free.
She died free. And I want to, again, put some more context to this, because she will also tell you, as Nahanda did also, exile is difficult. She was not in prison. No question about it. She was clear and appreciative that she was not in prison. But she could not be with her family.
That's right.
She could not be with her community. When we would travel there were things, the real things that she was like, I miss the music.
Right.
I miss touching my folks. I miss walking down this street. I miss being in space with my folks.
That's right.
And they both individually, Assata and Nahanda, talked about how heavy the isolation of exile was.
Yeah.
And it did have impact on their health. 100%. It did have impact on both of them, 100%. And so, yes, she did die free of U.S. imperialist reach, no question. But that bounty did put her in another category of almost being underground again in Cuba, where she could not have access. She could not be accessible, rather, to folks, because Cuba was opening up at that time also to a lot of tourists. And so in order for them to keep her safe, they had to make sure she was not accessible.
Yeah.
And to some extent, when Trump came back and he blew up the relationship that Obama had built with the opening of Cuba, that was a back type of blessing. And like if anything good came of it, it is that she was more, people would have less access to the island and less access to do funky things. Because I think that if relations had fully thawed, it would have been brought up over and over again as an issue, and it would have been an incredibly loud drumbeat of an issue. I could see Hillary Clinton actually trying to lobby Cuba on that behalf had she won the election.
Yeah, and most of them actually did, so they pressured the state to try to do that. And Cuba stood firm. So like it's not even up for discussion.
Matter of principle.
Matter of principle. Next topic.
I remember when President Obama opened, when Cuba became open under President Obama, and something was going on, and he said something to Fidel's brother, and Fidel's brother kind of put him in his place, and it's like, from like elders, statesmen, it was like the President Obama was like, yeah, so I'd love to see, people just be authentic. And he looked at him like, you the president, but you in Cuba. So.
That's right.
You talk about Raul Castro.
Raul, that's right.
He took charge after Fidel's passing.
That's right.
I just places to go, because people are saying, well, what are we going to do around Assata? Now, all the names that you named earlier in terms of the political prisoners lifted up and ultimately got free, all of them ain't free. I want to put a pin in two names in particular right now. Fannie Lou Hamer's birthday is the 6th. Imam Jamil's birthday is tomorrow. Kamal Siddiqui, the last New York Panther political prisoner, framed by the same judge that oversaw the framing of Imam Jamil El-Amin, right? Assata's partner and comrade, from whom we get Kikuya Shakur, her only daughter, is still very much in prison. Got an active parole campaign coming up for him. We got to say a few words about just who Kamal was, who Kamal is,
right?
Why that, reclaiming those of our freedom fighters who are still in captivity is still an order of the day.
Right. And it's important to lift that up because, Kamal was recaptured primarily as a tool to try to get to the
lure her in. That's right.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Because let me just say, his conviction was based on the murder of a police officer in Atlanta from 1971.
Wow.
He was arrested. In I think 72, 73, right after that. And they didn't have enough to try the case. And so he was released. He was rearrested in 2000 or 2001.
Wow.
Under the same, for the same case, right? And so it's important to know that, again, the state doesn't forget. The state has a long memory, and their agenda and purpose remains to be what it is. One of the first questions they asked him after they arrested him was, "Where is Assata?" And he's like, "You know damn well where she is," right? And so we know that our freedom fighters are vulnerable. We know that they continue to be used as tools to try to incarcerate more of our folks. But part of what we stand on is the charge from Assata to make sure that we release and we grant the freedom, we secure the freedom of the remaining Panther BLA comrades as quick as possible, because time is not on our side. Their health conditions are deteriorating. They are grandfathers, they're elders, and we need to make sure that they come home as quick as possible. So Kamal is a symbol for the state, but he's also more than a symbol for us. He belongs to us. He belongs to us. He belongs back here in New York with his family. He belongs with his grandchildren. He's an amazing, individual who, at the time of his arrest, he was working for the telephone company. His Panther time and days were behind him, literally living the life of a regular working class Black man in New York City.
Granddad, that's right.
And he was arrested federally, or was it
no, state? State. Yeah, New York State arrested him on behalf of Georgia. He's in Georgia right now.
Now, even before that, this is how ugly this state can be. They tried to put a bogus charge of sexual assault on him, because that's one of the worst things you go to prison for. Right. Just to put him in a space where they can just turn their back on him being harmed. Right. That didn't stick. Then they come up with this old thing from back in 1970, like you explained, in Atlanta, and put him before Stephanie Manis, who oversaw Imam Jamil, and they went to prison right behind each other.
Correct.
Behind each other. So I want to make sure.
The state does not forget. The state does not forget, and we will not forget. And we're working. We have a number of efforts to make sure that We do the impossible again. One of the things that is a remaining lesson from Mama Assata is that we've done the impossible before, and we can and will do the impossible again. You know, the state told her that she would die in prison. The state told Sudiata that he would die in prison. The state told Mutulu that he would die in prison. They said the same thing to all of the other folks, right? All of the people that I named are out of prison.
That's right.
We've done the impossible before, and we're going to do it again. We will make sure that.
Remember, I mentioned last week that, and Jonathan, I know, I mentioned last week that there have been several in movies how they have kind of put the storyline of Assata in different forms and fashion. I know in Madam Secretary they did it.
That was horrible.
Let me just finish on.
Oh, sorry. I had a reaction to it. I saw it. And I was like, that was
like the last.
Some of us haven't seen it. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, they just had a woman. They did a woman when she was young. They said she shot a police officer. She was living in Cuba, and they asked her to come back and so on. But in that case, that she was innocent, and they brought her back, and you know.
Oh, yeah, she voluntarily came back to be tried because she trusted the U.S. system. That that show was the dumbest show I've seen in a long time. I was like,
well, it's very, and guess what? People need good film. Stop, Jonathan. People need feel good. People, it was more on diplomacy. But has there ever been a story on Assata's life?
Yes, there's a Eyes of the Rainbow is the name of the documentary on her life that is the most popular. There are a number of other documentaries that
but no theatrics, no.
These are documentaries we're talking about.
These are documentaries.
Okay.
Yeah. And I encourage people to actually, look at Gloria Rolando's film because it is again reflection of Assata's story in life by her. As is her book and her biography. And I think this is the perfect time for people to really ground themselves in the truth of her story.
And it's Eyes on, what is it? Eyes on?
Eyes of the Rainbow.
Gloria Ocasio is a filmmaker.
We have to get you to come back just to talk about hip hop.
The
nature of hip hop.
You DJ a little bit too, Tell them your DJ handle, Lumumba.
Revolution.
Okay.
DJ Revolution. Annually, Malcolm X grassroots movement did a dance, a liberation dance tribute to Assata's liberation, in which he is the DJ.
Every November 2nd, called Freedom Dance. We would do it. That's right.
So we will bring you back. Oh, wow. It got a couple of weeks. Well, we'll talk about that. Are you still affiliated with CUNY?
I teach right now not at this moment. I teach in January at the CUNY School of Professional Studies. I teach a community organizing class.
Okay. I work for the PSC.
You love to be in a class like
I'm a PSC member.
They had the professional development. I was working with the PSC when they started the professional development where they were taking the professors over to Cuba. That was one of the things. So we have to have you back, and especially
glad to come back.
Okay, and you said since we only got Monifa.
We're bringing back the vote. Monifa used to come on a segment that we did on second Fridays,
right?
Called The Vote. It was her. Sometimes it would be Tamika Mallory,
which is coming back. It's coming back.
So trying to tell him that you get.
Well, with past times, he got something quicker.
That's true. She right, Zaya. She right.
I got the message. All right.
No, it's not you. I don't want you to get the message because we have an important question.
No, Zaya got the message. She was subbing Zaya.
Not you.
I got it.
Because I don't want the other person to give the message the way he does it. This is a hip hop political show, and so. When you're out here doing the work, whether you're teaching, and you're teaching so many different formats, and when you're doing that work, is there a hip hop individual or group that you listen to that keeps you inspired?
You know, I heard you ask that question to the previous guest, and I said, let me write this down so I don't forget what my answers would be. So I have 4 altogether.
Okay.
Right now, who's on heavy rotation in my car when I'm listening, you know, Cyrock, Rhapsody, Sampa the Great, and who I've been listening to back more now is, this is the 25th anniversary of Dead Presidents' Let's Get Free.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that,
Dead Presidents.
that album, Let's Get Free, is 25 years old this year.
Do you remember when Dead Prez went on Deaf Poetry? Oh my gosh, that was fabulous. You ever see them on Deaf Poetry?
I have. I saw that clip.
Oh,
yeah, they're no joke. They're no joke.
Okay.
So those are my answers.
Because you can see Jonathan the way he's sitting up. So thank you for being here. And we want you definitely to come back and tell Monifa that we're reviving the boat. So we will be reaching out
I will
to
let her know. I will let her know. The Bandeles will represent. We'll do.
All right.
Thank you. And did you see the quote that somebody put up about Asha? I know Monifa said y'all are not related, but they're
not related. But I a number of stories on the sister. Yes,
all in the mix. That's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate you all. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for all the work that you all do.
We appreciate you as well. And thank you for coming back.
Okay.
We're definitely gonna have you back on soon.
Indeed. Talk soon. Peace.
All right. Take care. And thank all of our other guests who came on today. Thank you,
Congresswoman.
Thank you to Rahaman Muhammad, and
it was a wonderful interruption.
And our surprise guest, our Congresswoman, popped up. We love having you on. We will have you on again before the 21st. Thank you also for Nadia Morsey. Nadia Morsey.
Macon Road, New Jersey. Nadia's a hell of an organizer.
Yep, and all the work that you do, and for all the information you get us on what's going on with ICE, and so we appreciate that, and what's going on with these struggles, and of course to Lumumba Bandele. And thank you for coming on the show, and we got to get you back on soon.
And most of all, our audience who stayed engaged all the way.
Thank you. Thank you, the audience. And we have to announce this more. YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube page. And we've got to do this. And remind us, Donna and Zaid, remind me to have everyone subscribe to our YouTube page. Just hit, like and subscribe to our YouTube page. All right. Take care. Until next week. Peace.